exclusively psychological approach can do justice to the phenomena in question. Not only the findings of parapsychology, but my own theoretical reflections, outlined in On the Nature of the Psyche, have led me to certain postulates which touch on the realm of nuclear physics and the conception of the space-time continuum. This opens up the whole question of the trans-psychic reality immediately underlying the psyche. Though often used interchangeably, we may draw a subtle difference between ghosts and spirits. Ghosts can be seen as imprints of energy, or after-images tied to a space. They seem to have unfinished business on Earth, hence their strong ties to a certain place. Oftentimes, they are not aware that they are dead, and their death is usually a tragic or violent one. A ghost is a lingering presence of a dead person, and is associated with hauntings. Spirits, on the other hand, can be described as souls of humans and other sentient beings like animals who have died and have moved on to a spiritual realm. They are conscious and active. In a foreword to Stewart Edward White's The Unobstructed Universe, Jung writes, "Our world of consciousness and the beyond together form a single cosmos, with the result that the dead are not in a different place from the living. There is only a difference in their frequencies, which might be likened to the revolutions of a propeller. At low speeds, the blades are visible, but at high speeds they disappear. In psychological terms, this would mean that the conscious and the unconscious psyche are one, but are separated by different amounts of energy. The beyond is this same cosmos, but without the limitations imposed on mortal man by space and time. Hence it is called the unobstructed universe. Our world is contained in this higher order and owes its existence principally to the fact that the corporeal man has a low frequency, thanks to which the limiting factors of space and time become operative. The world without limitations is called orthos, which means the right or true world. Though it must be emphasized that this does not mean a devaluation of our world. This limited life should be lived as fully as possible, because the attainment of maximum consciousness while in this world is an essential condition for the coming life in orthos. This is an agreement with Plato, who regarded philosophy as a preparation for death. Even though our critical arguments may cast doubt on every single case, there is not a single argument that could prove that spirits do not exist. In this regard, therefore, we must rest content with the mystery. Jung writes, "Those who are not convinced should beware of naively assuming that the whole question of spirits and ghosts has been settled and that all manifestations of this kind are meaningless swindles. This is not so at all. These phenomena exist in their own right, regardless of the way they are interpreted, and it is beyond all doubt that they are genuine manifestations of the unconscious. The communications of spirits are statements about the unconscious psyche, provided that they are really spontaneous and are not cooked up by the conscious mind." Having considered the phenomenon of the paranormal from different angles, Jung did not reach a resolution of his analysis of the subject. Towards the end of his life, he wrote, "I myself cannot brag about any original research in this field, but declare without hesitation that I was able to witness enough of these phenomena to be wholly convinced that they are real. However, I cannot explain them, and hence cannot decide on any of their usual interpretations." At the end, Jung also admits that paranormal phenomena could be better explained by the hypothesis of spirits than by the qualities and peculiarities of the unconscious, so they are likely both spiritual and psychic in nature. The statements and incidents scattered throughout his work show that the paranormal was deeply linked to his overall worldview and understanding of the psyche. For Jung, things were complex because he remained open to ideas that challenged the scientific views of his time. For them, the question was resolved. For Jung, it was not, and he labored continually to navigate around conflicting worldviews, a true alchemical work of uniting the opposites. Jung's confrontation with the unconscious was difficult to overcome, but this experience was the most important of his life. Indeed, he felt that it was enough for several lifetimes. As Jung stated, When asked if he believed in God, "I don't need to believe, I know," he experienced gnosis. It is the inner visions and images that made him truly whole and gave him the foundation to share his gifts to the world. Belief is no adequate substitute for inner experience.
This is what democracy looks like. So, if folks are ever wondering why we're enslaved and run by policy, statute, code, and various misleaders, get a good look at the metaverse and what goes on these panels from time to time. They know they don't care about words, terms, and symbols. They know they don't care about etymology. They freely admit it. They're so mind and heart controlled, they're going to follow policy and false authority to their bitter end. And no matter how much I try to get them to refocus and recenter and research, the word is research, who and what you are and what this all means, I can't get them to do it. You'd rather argue with me over running stop signs and what that means. It's the loss, injury, and harm we got an issue with. It's not the damn sign. These people never saw a sign they didn't want to follow. They never saw, an idol or a misleader they didn't want to listen to and follow. I'm pretty much done with it all, as I have been for a while. So yeah, when I come anywhere, it's all love at the end of the day, but when we have the back and forth, I'm going to turn up on you, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, and I'm going to question you, hold you accountable, and I'm going to define the words and terms and put it in your face. And if you want to argue with me, I'm going to call you a bitch-ass motherfucker, like the intro said. It is what it is. You guys don't understand why I do what I do. I don't give a fuck what happens. Don't you get it? I'm not like you. I don't give a fuck what happens. I can't. I care, but I can't give a fuck. Because if I do, it'll allow the powers that shouldn't be, that we've given our power away to take me down from the inside out. See? I don't care that you don't understand the words and terms and etymologies and symbols. It's all there. Even if it wasn't there, I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. Okay? You didn't grow up like me. I was from a broken home. I grew up in a broken cultural divide, I guess you could say. Suburban white people and urban African Americans and Latinos, right below the poverty line. So, coming from a broken home and being a broken person and being around a whole bunch of other folks who culturally had some differences, we'll say, I lived my whole life expecting to die or go to prison. So the fact that I'm still here talking, especially after everything thus far, there's so many things that have happened. I don't get into it. You don't need to know every piece of my fucking life story. You may not want to know. It may not be necessary. Maybe it is necessary. Maybe that's part of the problem. You don't truly understand me and you think you do. So my whole upbringing, I was expecting to die or go to prison. I just didn't know what the circumstances were going to be. If we don't move into this space and truly understand who and what we are and what our rights and freedoms are worth, which is dying for going to a box, we're not going to have them. Worse than that, we're going to be diseased. We're not going to have peace. We're not going to have inspiration. We're not going to have true faith. We're not going to have empowerment. We're not going to have resources. You have to draw the line of distinction and you have to move into that if you want the things that we say we want. There's going to be no other mechanism in it. If I have to die or go to prison doing what's true or what's right, I'm so way ahead of the game at this point. Yeah, there's only two things that you could do to stop me now, and you can't even do that indefinitely. You got to put me in a box forever. You got to kill me. If you put me in a box, you're going to have to let me out at some point because I haven't killed nobody and I'm not doing anything. And if you're going to do it, you got to be completely corrupt, and I don't put it past you. But if you put me in there, you got to keep me forever. And you still aren't going to know what to do with me because I'm going to raise the roof on wherever you put me. Just the way that I am. You know it and I know it. I don't even have to get uppity to do it. Energetically, I'm going to raise the roof on that institution. When I go to these places, they go, get this motherfucker out of here. Energetically, we do not need him here. You go in there, it's like the pit of hell. It's like death warmed over. I come in there, I bring such a light and such information and understanding and such care that it just flips it on its head. They say, get him out of here. It's bad for business. Greetings, folks. We're back at it. Indoor Command Center. On the move soon. Once again. A lot of times, oftentimes these days, I get that itch to move. Right? You got to go. So I, myself, and Jennifer will be moving locations, undisclosed location at this time. But of course, it has come out since that we were on New Mexico. And we'll be moving at some point here toward Arizona. Because, I'm just kind of done in general with all the nonsense. And I get it. I'm here for a purpose and meaning. It's bigger than me. It's not about what I want and don't want. I get that. Trust me, no one gets that more than me. But it's like, at a certain point, you got to kind of go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated, as much as possible. True enough. Not the whole truth, but true enough. So I'm going to go to a land where maybe it's not the prettiest. Maybe I'd rather have a down south beachfront Virginia Beach kind of setup. Maybe in the future, right? 3 to 5 years down the line, reefers becoming legal everywhere, and folks think that means lawful. So it'll pretty much be the same thing. Where because they believe legal is lawful, it will be lawful, even though it's lawful now, but illegal. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I'm just saying that I got to go where I can have 10 guns. I can carry them however I want. I can shoot somebody if they try to harm me. And we're not going to deal with a bunch of leftist, collectivist, communist, fascist bureaucracy as much as possible. Right. So that's where I'm oriented. Arizona seems to be the place to be. Colorado's just not doing it for me. New Mexico slavery, just not doing it for me. Obviously, California, beautiful place, beautiful white people, just not doing it for me. So again, you can't run from self and you can't run from the macro situation. Either way, sooner or later, love is going to get you, brothers and sisters, right? And sooner or later, Klaus is going to get you. So ultimately, you can't really run from self and the macro environment, but you can put yourself in position to cover your bases and be as somewhat instinctually, intuitively secure as possible. And of course, that, ties in with the legal, lawful aspects of things. Good luck trying to argue any kind of vestige, as the tribe fellow likes it to be said, any kind of vestige of common law, rights, freedom, and principles on New York State at this point. Good luck. And the same to be said for many other quote unquote state ofs, right? The non-entity entities. So yeah, while you can go anywhere at this time and law is still law, we understand the foundations and principles of law, and we could probably move a case and get some level of remedy and resolution. I wouldn't want to have to be the one to try certain places, right? Because it's they're just almost completely given over to the statute, policy, and code as law thing. They really don't care about rights, freedom, and principles or true value systems. So we're kind of just going to run with the beast system matrix till the wheels fall off. I get that. I'm totally for that. And then at a certain point, you got to kind of go west, young man, like they used to say, it would seem. So yeah, part of me misses the whole New York thing, right? Great pizza, great Chinese food, great everything, right? Other than the people, terrible people. Amazing.
Come on,
food.
I live here.
Jeez. Oh, well, you still live there? That hole?
Yeah. Western New York.
Yeah. Well, and you're traveling around freely around there?
Yeah.
Oh man, this guy's got some balls.
You think it had anything to do when I did this? That I sent when I surrendered my place, I also sent a registered letter to the Department of Motor Vehicles saying I would no longer be contracting with them. I sent them the Supreme Court decisions. I sent them all, and I also asked for my MCO back, but they never responded to that. And also going to the police station prior to doing this and informing them of the laws as well. I don't know if it had anything to do with it. I doubt it, but just say it.
Yeah, we all kind of do that process to some level. Does it necessarily have an effect? Maybe, maybe not. Does it matter at the end of the day?
Well, don't they have to honor your terminating the contract?
Listen, John, we're so deep into this. Does anyone have to do anything? It's like saying if they get you in Hanoi, do they have to take your name, rank, and serial number, and then, you know, treat you nicely? Maybe, maybe not. Are they supposed to? Yeah. Are they going to? No. You know, that's the human element of things. So it's really just comes down to what folks believe in preponderance and what they're willing to do and not do. So, you know, the technicality of things, right? Like the guy down there says, talk about the all caps person and IDing. And I go, well, it's pretty simple. What do you want to talk about here? You know, don't have to look. I even searched it for you the way that you need to understand it. As far as I'm concerned, I can't tell you what to do and not do. Citizens, that's a great word. We love that word. Still doesn't matter because either or, right? Like this is the technicality. I'm going on the citizenry and the jurisdiction in the all caps name because there's nothing left other than common sense. Oftentimes, if you point out what they're doing in the fraud, they just get more pissed off. They go, listen, Paulie boy, we know we're doing fraud here. We're just going to say you're Sav sitting it up so that the other slaves listen and don't ever catch on to this. I go, I got that. You guys are great pimps. I respect it, you know. But ultimately, it's like they're just going to piss them off by bringing up the fraud they're doing that they know they're doing. You're better off at this point just arguing from common sense. Like we get, like I said, unless it's completely dishonorable, kangaroo court, you can't establish any kind of common colloquial presentation. You know, with the administrator, whoever it is, they want to steamroll you, they want to run over you, they want to put claims on your behalf, they want to charge that person sky high and then claim that it's you. Well, then that's a different kind of presentment, right? So this is what practicing law is like. It comes down to not everything is going to go the same way every time. There's a lot of factors, right? You show up at court, you know, you got a rapport with the administrator right off the bat. You're able to address them as a man or woman and them not like freak out and they're not like steamrolling you and trying to coerce you. And well, then maybe you approach it a different way. You know, that's the thing. Folks act like when you do this law thing that there's like one way to approach all situations at all time. It's not the case. There's different ways to approach different situations depending on what's kind of laid out, right? Like it's kind of like going to war, the simulation of war. Do you fight each fucking battle the same way every time? There may be some similarities in the stratagem. You know, you're going to flank, you're going to, you know, deceive, use smoke and mirrors, whatever the case may be, high ground, low ground. You know, use the sun to your advantage for location. There's certain things you kind of do in every battle, but not every battle is fought the same way because your army is not the same in every battle. What you have stacked up on your side, what they have stacked up on their side, the terrain, the environment, there's a lot of factors. So folks need to understand that pretty much in anything you do in life, it would seem to me, to be really good at it, you can't be like, you can't be rigid and overly structured. You have to kind of have a background knowledge of what's going on, the process and procedure, and then you have to be fluid and dynamic. You kind of adapt and overcome with the information that's presented and the changes that are taking place. To me, that's a testament of someone who's good at anything that they do in life, is regardless of how everyone else is going to stack everything up in formality against them, they may have a background knowledge, but they have that kind of sixth sensibility, that human element. Again, they write movies off of this stuff, you know, maybe a Slow State and the others are right that I've kind of bought my own bullshit. But there are certain movies written about folks who don't have to go to the institution in order to know how to think. And by virtue of knowing how to think and how things work, they're able to approach the problem with a solution that is unconventional, unorthodox. Right? You know, the like Carl Lentz was speaking about yesterday, you know, the Matt Damon sort of phenomena. Right? I don't believe that these folks write movies off of stuff that they're imagining. These are based off of real world experiences. So in every situation, you will have folks of true intelligence who understand how this is working beyond what the average herd mass is seeing and being told. And they will be able to navigate the situation a bit differently. You know, it's kind of akin to the Christed being in scripture walking on water. You know, many folks have said that that is a parable or an allegory to this maritime law that's seemingly been around from the beginning of time with the all caps, you know, law of the sea, law of commerce, right? The directing using banks of the energy exchange that we call currency or commerce, merchant banking from the beginning of time, merchant, like mermaid, right? So from the beginning of time, we've had these words and terms that kind of point us to a system or set of circumstances that seemingly only a few folks, for some reason, are able to navigate in a bit of a different way than the majority of the herd mass. And so therein, as far as I'm concerned, I can't prove any of this, but as far as I'm concerned, that is the knowledge of self, knowledge of God, and the godlike experience. When you start to essentially walk on water while the rest of the slaves are drowning and asking for life preservers. Okay, so the man asked me to talk about the all caps and the fact that you don't have to give the cops identification. And again, this is a pretty simple conversation. Citizens are free to roam, loiter in public places, and are not required to provide police with their identity. But again, this is Rutherford.org constitutional Q&A, that they might not be like experts. I don't know. Can we get somebody from the team of Shaitan, the deceived / deceivers, to legitimize this? Is De Laguna off today? Is she around? Is Slow State around? Can I get someone from the worldly, cultured, left-brained, very low-level awareness intelligence team to verify, is this going to work for me, or am I cherry picking? Because again, like, I really don't care. This is where I'm crazy. Paulie's crazy. I don't give a fuck about what it says on the internet. I care about my connection to God and my conscience. So, like, what does my crazy little brain tell me? I don't have to give a motherfucker anything in this realm. What do you think of that? Scary, huh? Wild. Where in your life, all of a sudden, anywhere else in life, did you have to give anyone to anything that you didn't want to? So why is it different when somebody puts a goofy costume on and says, I work for this corporation? Don't understand it.
Because they have the guns and they say so.
Again, I'm the crazy guy, because if we were on Italy, where half of my people come from, apparently, my father still doesn't understand the code of honor, apparently, but that's the whole point of why Italy was made famous with the mobsters, because of a code of honor. So if Sammy the Bull or whoever else wants to come around and say, Paulie boy, we're going to break your windows and break your legs every day till you give us who and what you are. Guys, we come here every day. I get that you're the mob. You're really strong and powerful. Get that you could do harm to my body. Do you think that this is legitimate business? Do you think that this is what the mafia even is supposed to do in communities? Because it's not. They have their own code of how they're supposed to deal with civilians, and it does not include them slaving people and breaking people's legs to get what the fuck they want. No, it does not. There's nobody in the mafia who isn't completely bereft of logic, morals, and ethics. Even the lowest of the low supposedly has a code of ethics and honor. You're not supposed to hit women and children. You're not supposed to extort the regular townspeople. You're there to provide protection if folks want that. You're there to settle disputes in the neighborhood. You're there to loan shark for arguably a lesser high percentage than your banks are at this point. So you're supposed to be a servant to the community, even if you're mafia. You're not supposed to terrorize them. You're not supposed to do harm to civilians. You're not supposed to hit women and children and all the rest of it. And you're not supposed to rob and rape and steal. You're actually supposed to provide services to the community for folks who can't go to the courts and the police. That's what that was for. Even the mafia doesn't do this business this way. It would be frowned upon. If you went to the boss of all bosses, regardless of who did what underground, some soldier, some whatever, he's going to get a talking to later. If somebody comes to your store and breaks your windows out and says, I'm with the Lucchese's and you're going to pay us now, we're going to terrorize you in this block every day, you go right to the underboss, right to the top of the list, the boss of all bosses, whoever it is, say, sir, we understand what you're doing here and you're very powerful, respectable, honorable people, supposedly. You think that this is good business? Coming to break out the baker's windows and tell him he's got to fucking pay you for protection? You think that that's how we're going to run a culture, a community, a society here, right? Absolutely not. And there's not a boss of any kind of integrity or honor who's going to ride with that. And he's immediately going to say, you know what, Mr. John, so-and-so, you're right. He had no business, that scumbag of mine, going down there and trying to put you in terrorism for living a normal life in the community. Absolutely not. And he's going to, and even if he supported it behind the scenes, he's not going to look that baker in the face and tell him that's how he does business, because his family's going to be in ill repute with the whole town very shortly, right? And when they get the police and the feds and everyone else involved, it's going to bring heat down on everybody. So even if the boss of all bosses is for shaking down civilians, winking and nod, when you come to him and tell him what his people are doing, he's not going to be able to ride with it in public and in everybody's face because it ain't right. And this is the nature of common sense that Tommy and others say doesn't exist. No, it does. And it doesn't matter how powerful. Matter of fact, the more powerful someone is, the more they're forced to be humbled when you just bring them what's true and what's right. Because they go, you know what, Paulie boy, we kind of respect you. We could kill your ass and your whole family right now. And you're not bucking up to us. You're just asking us why we think this is appropriate business. And you got a fucking point here. There's no other way around it. And I'll give you a legion of stories if you don't want mine firsthand on the ground with criminals and scum, where I've gotten out of situations by just appealing to good sense and good nature and not playing the fucking game, right? I could give you a legion of stories of folks who are on record who have been in that life and will tell you the same thing, that regardless of procedure and process, regardless of hierarchy and formality, regardless of all the rest of it, just coming to a motherfucker with common sense and appealing to good sense and good nature is supposed to be a commonsensical uniting principle to all people, all places, and all strata of society. Even the lowest of the low respect that, typically, right? So, again, folks are going to say to me, like he says, talk about the all caps person. What do I need to talk about? It's 5,000-year-old etymology. Capitis diminutio maxima, a diminishment to the maximum effect of your capacity. What do you think it's in all caps because it's easier to read, like Artie says? Doubtful. Do you think that when they send you notice and your name's in all caps and the first 3 letters are in all caps and the rest of the message isn't, that it's a coincidence? It's easier to read? Doubtful. They're playing games with dual language and linguistics. They're playing pimping and hoeing games. So there's not much to talk about. That's a person they created and gave you to do commercial business. You either want to opt in and use that person to do commercial business or you don't, and nobody can force you to. Furthermore, just because you do commercial business and that person's charged doesn't mean they can take it out on your body. It's a commercial entity. It's commercial business. It means anytime you charge that entity, it comes down to a bill and someone's got to pay. You can't take my body off to a cage. I know everyone thinks you can, and they'll sign on the dotted line saying that you will, and they'll bond your body to the commercial activity. Title 53, all crimes are commercial. So they'll say, you did a crime in commerce, and this is what it's like worth. This is what you got to pay. And to pay the debt to society, we're taking your body. I'm not saying they're never going to do it to me. I'm just saying I'm going to put everything on the record between now and then to show this is commerce. Even if you charge this up fraudulently and you say I did all of it, at the end of the day, it comes down to who's going to pay the bill and how much. So I'm willing to pay. You say that I did wrong and you could bring a man or woman forth to prove it. I'll pay any commercial charges to that person. I'll hold the liability for him. I'm not going to be surety as a body for charges on that legal person in commerce. No, I'm not. I'm not giving you my blood, sweat, and tears and my body in order to settle a debt in commerce. Right? So worst case scenario, the way I see it is the way these folks want to come at process, they can never really take my body indefinitely for sentencing and to house it as product, because I never agree to that, and I never contract to that, and I never bond for that, and I never sign the paperwork. And I'm willing to compensate anyone at any time if they'll just come forward and substantiate the charges, and they never can because it's a state of entity on the other side. Sorry, get a better fraud game. That's the thing about fucking with a criminal genius like myself. I know what other criminal geniuses are doing. I know how they're frauding you and scamming you. I can see right through it. That's why they say it's in you, it's not on you. I've been a criminal-minded pimping scum since day one, lying, cheating, stealing, and manipulating everybody. Then at some point I had a change of heart and realized, who was I really lying and cheating and stealing on? Me. Because I'd become inhuman. I hated myself. I was numb emotionally. I had no love and care in my life and no purpose at the end of the day. I was a waste. So once you realize living that way with that discernment is only a detriment to you, let alone other people in your life, you just stop as much as possible. You just stop. And then it becomes a lot easier for you to figure out, while you're trying to do good in life and be faithful and be trustworthy and honorable, you see right through everyone else and how they're fucking you and lying and trying to scam you 10 different ways to Sunday. Because I was that. I was better than you guys at it. I was just as good, if not better. I honestly, no, I can't say that. No one is as good as the shaitan in these systems. with the all caps name and the double speak and the fucking passive aggressive deflections, obfuscations. No one's better than these people.
And the ability
I'm
to
really
convince
being
all
honest
of
with
them that
myself.
it's
I
true.
was terrible at what I did. I thought I was good. See, that's the thing about low life criminal scum and their ego. Until you reflect and look back at yourself, you always think you're slick and clever. You always think you got everybody gamed in the system. You always think you're one step ahead of folks. That's their undoing. Right? I don't think that at all at this point. I go, I don't think I'm smarter than you guys or slicker than you guys. You guys got the biggest and best fraud ever. I go to talk and then I got to stop myself and go, no, actually, yeah, I wasn't good at this. And to be fair, you guys really aren't that great at it either, but you're way better than most people. Right? Like this double speak contract fraud they got going on is fucking fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. I think that this is the beast system that folks in the Bible were marveling at. Like the fact that from the beginning of time, they've been using double speak words and terms and dual definitions and paperwork to take everybody's private property and will somehow or another by consent, because they like put you through the ringer. Then they go, just sign right here. I mean, they've been doing it since the days of the Inquisition. They put you through 3 days of Inquisition. Then they go, just sign right here. The person's so worn out and confused, doesn't know where they are. They just sign. Then they show up to court and go, looky right here, Paulie boy, after 3 days of torture they're not going to bring up, signed all the paperwork and says that he's an infidel and should be burned at the stake. It's just not conclusive evidence, Your Honor, in the state. You know, they've been doing it from day one. You know, so if you don't have that kind of will on you and the understanding, and you don't have faith and trust, you will get pimped on. You will forsake your destiny and your power and your faith and inspiration. You know, this is a long game. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. You know, I could talk for days on this shit and say little to nothing. And ultimately it comes down to a very simple idea. I get to choose in this life what I'm going to do and not do. You can tell me that it makes it easier for me and everyone else by doing whatever you say. I found in the long run, it makes it harder. So I'd rather go through the harder shit up front and have the rest of my life be easier in the sense of me having my integrity and dignity intact to some degree than give that up and go along and be in fascism and slavery anyway, because it's not going away. So like, I'm that guy. Like when I meet a woman, I do the end of the relationship up front. I'm not like the rest of you. Where you guys like play games up front, and then 10, 15 years down the line, you start to get to real conversation, maybe at a therapist's office. No. I do the end of the relationship up front, right? Because I contend we're in inversion land, and most people do everything cart before the horse. So I reverse the whole process, and it seems it works out till it doesn't. Right? So I go, we're going to get really honest and authentic and accountable up front and give each other the best, you know, the good, bad, the ugly, everything in between, and see if we can carry over till the end. Not just show each other all the best and then wind up seeing all the worst 10 years down the line and hating each other and ourselves. Right? So, yeah, I contend that when you see it for what it is on the macro level and you just join up with the universe, there's very little choice at this point. It's pretty much what I would consider to be doing God's will. Because while I'm afraid in my heart in the moment, I go, I could totally see what the next move is here I have to make in righteousness. So that doesn't give me any choice. All that's saying is that while I'm holding on to fear, I have to make the next right decision. There really is no choice, because if I succumb to that fear and I do something other than what's apparent to me is the next right move, the macro situation only gets worse, and I don't get an opportunity to say that I live fully in that macro situation as a microcosm of the macro. That's the whole point of free will and choice. Despite how this goes, it's going to fascism and slavery. If it doesn't, great. I was still a part of the game. If it does, great. I was still a part of the game. I'd rather be involved and activated and have that choice to do God's will than to have no choice at all and sit on the fence or sit on the sidelines and say, I was just alive and existing at this time. I wasn't fully living. Right? In order to fully live, you got to put yourself on the chopping block sometimes to deal with sacrifice and consequences. If you ain't, then you're not. That's the way that I see it. So just like Brian O'Shea said, he, regardless of wherever this goes, I'm sure he's fearful and confused at times. He keeps the faith and trust that, hey, I got to be part of this. So when they show up on the news and say, we're no longer pulling anybody over on Vegas for traffic infractions, or whether they show up on the news and say, we're no longer pulling people over on Denver for traffic infractions, you guys can devalue and demean, but nothing's going to change that we were part of that process. Even if it was 1/1 billionth of a percent. we were living embodiment of we're not going to listen to your statute, policy, and code because we're self-governing people on this land, and God is our judge, not you clowns in your outfits and costumes. Not going to happen. And you should thank us and wash our feet that we're still upholding the law of this land and American principles, because when that goes, your bitch ass goes. What do you think of that? Yeah, they know that's the case. That's why them cops pause and reflect from time to time, even though they're glazed over. They do pause and reflect at times, and they give each other a look because they're reminded subconsciously, if not consciously, if you take Paulie down and Brian O'Shea and what we stand for as a will, you can pretend that we're just bad adults. We're immature, right? We don't just manage our affairs properly by submitting implicitly and giving you all of our money and time and attention and power. You can pretend we're bad adults. You all know what it really is, right? We're the class clowns who always stood out, who were outcast, who smoked dope in the back of the class and said, go fuck yourself. We're not going along with your program. Because we come from broken homes and we got trauma, is what they'll say. Whatever, because I'll go right to Rumi, who's smarter than most of you motherfuckers, who say the crack is where the light enters. I'll go right to Bane. You want to make me out to be the evil bad guy rather than the hero of the story, as if they're not one and also separate, the alpha and omega all at once, paradoxically, right? I'm the necessary evil for Gotham. You raised me in darkness and hell. By the time I saw the light of truth, I was midway through my life, right? I could contend that from then on out, I've lived a faithful existence. But what's the difference? What I've done, it's about how I've been perceived, how they've made an enemy out of me, how I've been characterized as an outcast Sov-Sit terrorist, while the sovereign citizens in uniform are terrorizing everyone using statute, policy, and code. Okay, so I am a necessary evil to the system because I was raised in darkness and molded by it. And then at some point, I was shown the light and given an opportunity for redemption. You folks don't see the method to my madness or the method to God's madness, right? You don't see how it applies. Paulie boy doesn't have the degree. He doesn't want to join the society and culture. He doesn't want to fit in and do what the rest of them do. Yeah, you're damn right I don't. And you should be thankful for people like me. Because if it wasn't for the minority of folks like me, just like your founders, you'd already be deeply in fucking genocide and slavery. You guys forget, I was the kid in school who forced everyone else to look at what they were doing to decide if it was right or not. Just like in every venue I go in. I compel a conversation with the administration to ask themselves and each other and the students, what's going on here? Is this okay? Without folks like me, you're already deeply ensconced in slavery. You're already controlled and duped out, manipulated. Right? But guess what? In every one of those venues, I was a pariah to the teachers, and I was apparently a pariah to my fellow students who would tell me, Paulie, shut up. We're done with you. They'd laugh and giggle, but then at some point the teacher would go, this is craziness. It's got to stop. Then they all turn on you. Shut up, Paulie boy. We're here to learn. They give you the wink, right? We're here to learn. You're not here to learn. You just have already subconsciously known that this all leads to you not having a position in society at some point. You all know it. You know what's happening here in the classroom right now. If you don't take the side of that person in front who's been deemed an authority, regardless of whatever else is going on, you're not going to get women. You're not going to get a career and a status. You're going to be exiled, just like Paulie boy is going to be. And if you think they didn't say it outright like that, they did. And if you think they definitely didn't say it in private like that, I know they did. Because I had other people coming to me when we were young and say, don't you understand? Paulie boy is going to wind up with no wife, no children. No one's going to want to get anywhere near him. They're not going to want to give him a job because he's a loose fucking cannon. He's got will. He's got discipline. He won't fold. You can't humiliate him and mock him into place enough. You can't drug him out of his consciousness and will either. Right? So they all told their children and the people around, stay away from Paulie boy and don't act like him. Now, fast forward. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. Do you see how God works? I don't want to be part of your corporate scum endeavors. Because when I was later in life, they told me I had to give up what's true and what's right in my will in order to stay there and be accepted by them. That's why I never wanted it intuitively from the beginning. Turns out this thing that works through me that I call God at this point, that I used to hate and revile because they gaslit me. I used to hate myself and my intuition and instinct. Now it's the only thing that I look to that I thank God for. just like the intro just said, the helpful animal. Some instinct, intuition inside of me from day one has kept me away from these people and kept them away from me, right? And while when they do get near me, they judge me and condemn me and punish me, I can't be more thankful and grateful because I see why. I get it now. Totally get what this is all formed for us to experience, right? So yeah, we have our moments of doubt during persecution and prosecution, but upon introspection and reflection, we realize this is exactly what God formed us to do and be. I wouldn't have it any other way. Turns out the rest of these collectivized slave scum are off the mark. What an arrogant claim to make, huh? I've been doing that since day one, claiming to know more, be able to see more than whole institutions full of adults. Was I wrong? That's the thing. Is it arrogance and egotism when you flash forward 20 years and you're not wrong, but actually turns out, I guess if we look at the last 4 years, they were all wrong because they all went and got treatments and covered their face and denied God and the truth and went along with man's codes to their own detriment. Who gets the last laugh, I wonder? John, do you see how this thing works? And really they'll have me from day one gaslit to believe I'm the schizophrenic crazy person who's living in hallucination. Oops, well, that's you.
You're going to look that way in a society of insane people, for sure.
Right. When you're in inversion land, the sane are crazy and the crazy are sane and given positions of authority to watch over the rest of the asylum inmates. Where's Mr. Ray? Where's my principal, Mr. Ray? I remember him. Good guy, like my father used to say. Nice guy, good guy. Not great, though. Even if I give you good, never great. Right? I'll give you the nice and good thing. Even that's bullshit. You ain't good people, but you damn sure ain't great. Right? I'll even meet you in the middle and it's still bullshit. Nice guy. Good guy. Yeah, sure. They sell out their whole fucking future and destiny for a few more dollars with no discernment, logic, morals, or ethics objectively. Good guy. Nice guy. Yeah. Where's he at? Mr. Semper Fi, always faithful. You Marine trash. You guys make me laugh. You sit in a fucking office, you talk down to me as a child, then I have to like use question and answer to get you to realize your stupidity and foolishness. Then at some point it clicks and you realize what's going on here. But you never really go all the way. Long as Paulie Boy's out of your hair and moves along and you don't have to consider who and what you are and what you've done, it's all good, right? You know, Semper Fi, they'd sit right there and give me a speech and then force me to like question them and then they go silent. And just over their shoulders, always faithful. What faith is that exactly? What faith do you embody exactly? If it's not blind faith in your superior, incompetent, incapable, corrupt clown system. They wouldn't even know what Semper Fi is. They want to do this stolen valor, false glory rap. You guys are the stolen valor ones working for big corporations, claiming to be glorious and virtuous and faithful. If you were glorious, great, virtuous, and faithful, you'd have never joined the Marines to begin with, fuck slave. Don't you get that? They even give you the lingo when they try to recruit you, an army of one. Right. Hi. While you get together with your other punk coward squadron to do nepotism and make it in the world, I'm just me in the spirit. That's good enough. That's the thing you faithless scum have never realized. Just me in the spirit's an army of one that has to be reckoned with. More powerful than all of Shaitan and its legions and squadrons in its deception and manipulation. You could put Paulie Boy united with the truth and the Holy Spirit and the word of creation up against 10,000 of these beta males in a squadron. Can't hold a candle to it. At court or outside, right? The only place they think they've got it sewn up is physicality because they can take 10,000 of them and surround me and kill me. Doesn't change the dynamic of what is and what's coming and what you're creating. Boy, these people are moronic and short-sighted and worldly and foolish. I guess that's the way it has to be, right? If it wasn't that way, it wouldn't be the Dow. Your thoughts, John, before we get to the docket? I'm doing a lot of talking.
You were talking about the classroom, circumstances earlier about how you were different and telling the kids, not to listen to what they're saying. I was watching something earlier where they were at a town council meeting or something like that. They're doing a ceremony for these officials or cops or whatever. And at the end, everybody applauded. And the one guy taking the video booed. Guess what happened to the guy that booed? Cops dragged him out of there. The lawyer sitting up front, the guy says, hey, if they have the right to applaud, I have the right to boo, right? They dragged him out of there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, again, there at some points during your schooling career, you start to realize that just like you in the system, there are minorities. There were a few teachers who you could tell smoked pot. You know, they were well known to be kind of the outsiders in the administration. They kind of ran their own program when it came to teaching, and they were kind of about the morals and the values and like shaping minds to become great in this life. Yeah, those are the teachers who like became allies with me because they saw themselves in me. Right. And they were few and far between because, again, most of them are fucking cowards, especially the older they get in their age. It's like it's the weirdest thing. You would think the closer you get to death, the more you stop giving a fuck. But it seems a lot of these people, when you start talking like pension and benefits and retirement, they get real comfy with the uncomfortable. Right. They get real comfy with like not really caring as much anymore. You know, it's like a young man's game, I guess, righteousness and virtue, if it's anyone's game at all. The older they get just kind of get more kind of soft and complacent, you know, focused on them benefits and living the rest of their life in comfort. Pretty fucking pathetic and embarrassing, I'd say. But whatever, you know, maybe I guess I have to live through it to know. I can't judge.
And one other thing on the CAPS name you were talking about earlier, I wanted to bring this up, but I got one of my annual extortion notices today.
How does that work?
And why is my name not in all caps on that?
And what is that now? What is the?
It's my property taxes.
Oh,
it's they spell, you know, the capital S and then the small letters afterwards, capital J, small letters afterwards. Why is it not?
How long have you been getting those?
I've been here 30 years.
Have you never paid the property tax?
Well. Yeah, but it was paid through the mortgage originally until that ended, and then I've been paying it on my own since.
Okay, so you are giving it to them.
I wasn't, but then they sent me the threatening letters that if you don't pay it, we're coming to take your home. So I paid the fucking taxes. They only give you 3 years. 3 years to not pay your taxes, then you're out.
I understand. Again, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do and not do. I'm not in that position, and I wouldn't give advice in general, and I definitely wouldn't give advice that I'm not taking that would subject somebody to consequences I don't have to experience. But they'll say anything. I mean, that's kind of the game. Is they will threaten you and say we may. Yeah, they will say we may. Usually it's we may. They you got to kind of look when they have it. They're going to tell you what they're going to do. When they don't have it, they're going to tell you what they may do. Well, you know, John, if you don't do this, this, and this, we may do X, Y, Z. You may if you can get it done. If I let you. If I don't let you, you ain't. So that's kind of the game they don't want anybody to know, is that they're using doublespeak to communicate what they may do if you let them. But if you don't let them, they really can't, is what I've come to know for me to some degree. That remains to be seen long term, because they may come in, take everything, and go, now what, Paulie boy? Turns out you were wrong. And then I got to come back with a different story. But it seems to me, the more I navigate these situations, the more it's contractual, the more it's consensual, the more they have to give you notice. And then you have to believe what their notice is and understand it, and then move forward with the terms and conditions. The more you say, I don't understand this, it's just kind of like you guys are threatening me and not giving me any choice. Could you please substantiate this and give me some delegation of authority? I would think it's incumbent upon you as servants to explain your position and show me where I have to comply. And again,
it obviously isn't, because they don't respond ever. But that's the legal team game, is if you're giving them notice and they're giving you notice, it's about who believes that they're more right and going to be able to execute it. And then they believe, well, you don't have any recourse or remedy, and we do, because we'll use the system against you. Again, this is kind of the game. The game is... Even my affidavit of status that I sent to them, they never responded to.
They're never going to respond directly, because they're going to play the game of we don't recognize man. We don't recognize common law. We're running things by statute, policy, and code, and we're presuming you're giving consent, if nothing else, by the way that you identify. So
I'm seriously considering using a promissory note to pay this time. I'm going to make up a promissory note. Hey, what's the worst they can do? I'll have to pay a penalty or something, right?
Well, that isn't that the whole game? Is if they really could just take your house, why wouldn't they just take it now? if they're that criminal and they don't give a fuck about law and you don't have to consent, well, then why don't they just come take everyone's houses, paying or not? You're worth more dead than you're alive, technically. You know, I think it's a lot of it's bluffing. I think a lot of it is commercial terminology and contracts that you default on and you give them consent on. And either that or they're just so ego unbound and have a bunch of corrupt people behind them in a system. They're believing they're going to do whatever they want. In which case, why not gamble?
You know, and it's so fraudulent that even the envelopes, the ones with the window in them, those are for inter-office correspondence. Those are not through the regular mail. Those windowed envelopes are inter-office correspondence.
Again, John, this is kind of the game is use all put a mailing address and residence on file. Then you open up the crap they send you. Then you feel something about it and start arguing with it. I mean, what if you never open that mail? Can they ever claim you got it? No. If they send a guy to come get you, then they're still going to have to say, we sent you a bunch of shit. Did you get it? No. So you've never been given lawful notice or properly served. You see the game here?
Yeah.
Like on some level, you guys keep giving them a carte blanche to contact you and harass you, and you keep opening the communications and then arguing with what's there when there oftentimes isn't even anything there on the paper, technically, based on their system. Good luck trying to communicate that to the average person and then telling them not to continue to argue with it and to realize there's nothing on that paper half the time.
Yeah, those are all valid points for sure.
Again, it's kind of like when the guy said to me, it kind of clicked, and it wasn't what he was saying, but it was to me. He goes, if you didn't do any wrong, why are you here? Because they hand you paperwork and you start arguing with it. And next thing you know, they're like, well, we get 3 places down the road and realize we never had to answer to this to begin with. We were never contractually sound with this thing to begin with. It's only our fear and our beliefs that are motivating us to interact. You believe something's written there that pertains to you. You're fearful if you don't interact, they're going to come take something from you. That's why you keep showing up and interacting.
Exactly.
I mean, who's to stop anyone from sending them back, return to sender, whatever they send you, with a notice on top? You can never claim they gave you notice and you were lawfully notified, in which case they didn't do proper process and procedure. They're going to have to give you lawful notice at some point and then show you contractually where they believe you owe X, Y, Z.
You mean
and
your
there's
obligation?
Nothing stopping you from claiming something back on the other side. It's your word against theirs. The problem is the slave public has been taught that the system's workers' word is good as gold and we have no power and voice. That belief alone makes you fail because you believe you can't fight City Hall. We ain't here to fight. City Hall's got to bring a man or woman forth to make a fucking claim. When they can't, there's no one on the other side.
Did your family say that when you were a kid? I remember hearing my mom and dad say that you can't fight City Hall, when I was a kid.
Essentially, they wouldn't use that phraseology, but it's the same slave think that's gotten us here and deeper in. Is you all keep saying non-men and women entities have more power on record with word than actual men and women with affidavits. I don't accept that. I think the fact you all have accepted that is why we're enslaved. Because if you just started putting your fucking word on record and not wavering from it, they got to work really hard to substantiate how they're going to take your shit with no chain of title, with no man or woman to come forth to express equity or interest. These are maxims of laws. I don't care about the code and policy. I'm going to say administrator. You studied law, right? Many of you have been attorneys at one point. You know the maxims of law: equity, trust, good faith, honorability, title, chain of title, delegation of authority, proper contract. This is the basis of what you all are dancing on all day, every day, playing your games. Let's get down to that. Let's get to the root. Who's got possession? Me. Who's got chain of title? Me. Who has put the property in trust? Me. You going to bring a man or woman forth to swear in court, first and last name, given and family name, to say they have firsthand knowledge of what I owe, how, when, and why? Good luck. Doesn't exist. Can't do it. But you fucking slaves get into court. They push papers. You sign them. They say, could you give us an accounting of all your affairs? You fill it out. They say, could you take this to your accountant and let him fill it out to give us more state's evidence to fuck you? You do it. I don't know what to say. No one can compel you to perform for them, and they can't make a case without presuming, which is not applicable at court. They have to have exact figures. They can't do that without you giving it all to them. These are the same people. They show up and go, we want to audit you. Could you give us all your stuff? And you go, here, yeah, take a look at all of it. Why? Why would you do that? You have no obligation to provide them with anything. If they don't have reasonable articulable suspicion and or outright affidavit from third-party impartial claimant of a crime committed and the exact number and the contract, we got nothing to talk about. I'm not turning state's evidence on myself to give you a case when you've got nothing other than fear to go on now. This is the problem. Folks don't want to stand on what's true and what's right. They don't want to make a claim. They don't want to force them to prove their claim. They're too fucking scared to get their shit taken or to get put in jail. That's why we're getting pimped on. I contend if you folks would just start calling them on it, not belligerently, just start making claims in the sense of conditional acceptance. I'll pay you triple what you're asking me for if you could just substantiate the charges. How could you get mad at me at that? I'm offering you a payday of paydays. I'll give you 3 times IRS person, whoever that is. If you could just bring a man or woman forth at court, raise your fucking hand like I'm gonna, swear, and give a damn testimony firsthand on this contract and how I owe you something. Explain it to us. It's never gonna happen because they can't. And you folks never asked for it. So why should they? Never give a sucker an even break, right?
Deborah Smith, the receiver of taxes here in my local village, sent me an email, said, stop sending me emails about, I was sending her all these emails about the legality or the lawfulness of all this. And she just sent me an email back. Please stop sending me these emails. They don't want to hear it.
Please stop sending me email. I don't understand.
I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. You never think about treating them the way they're treating you because they're God.
No, I don't.
You want me to stop emailing you? Stop sending me garbage mail. Solicitation. You're harassing me. You're sending me crap every day in the mail that I don't have to open. And you're going to claim if I don't open it and argue with some letter here that there's no man or woman addressing it, no claim and no signature? If I don't fight with a non-entity like an insane person, you're going to come slave me and take from me? Get it done then. Get it done in the court of law. I want to see you do it. Most slaves are too dumb and too ballless to know how to show up at court and present properly and ask the right questions, or they're too poor and broke and scared to hire the attorney to do it for them. They don't want to spend the money, nor should they. Doesn't cost you anything to speak for your motherfucking self. That's why I'm a threat to all these courts. It costs them money to come in the room all day, every day. Free for me. Free for me. I don't have to pay a motherfucking dime. So let's go to court then if we got to. Every time you all show up, it's another new car. Someone's got to pay somebody. Another 50 grand, another 100 grand like the Castro. Just cost me my time, energy, and attention. And I was doing nothing else anyway. So let's have at it. They don't like that. See, they only have power and they know it's going to cost you $2 million fucking dollars a year to litigate. Or a few $100,000 per 5 meetings to litigate. We'll come back as much as we need to here to get this on record. Hope you guys got deep pockets. And I'm going to object to any man or woman coming forth talking at that court who doesn't have firsthand knowledge. Were you living on that property? Do you know to the fucking dollar what the fuck you claim I owe? If not, shut the fuck up and sit down and you know the rules of court. Don't want to hear it. Not interested in your presumptions and assumptions. I'm rebutting them out hand. Come with a valid, verified claim, man or woman on record who's going to swear that I'm going to cut their nuts off if that fucking bill is off by $1. If you can't do it, shut up and sit down because my life's on the line here. Pretty simple, I would think. Sorry. I'd love to bring you guys some feel good, sound good story about how it's all going to get better overnight and we ain't going to have to sacrifice and deal with consequences. That ain't reality. So then you got to decide what you want in this life. This is why I say to folks, I don't know why you guys don't take 10,000 and go buy some piece of shit property somewhere, put it in trust, and then dare them to take it. What are you going to lose? 10 grand worth of garbage property? Do the test. Get the fucking property, enter it in trust, and dare them to take it. Worst case scenario, if you fuck everything else up, you're out 10,000 and you get a lesson. Cost you 100,000 to go to law school anyway to practice law. What are we talking about? You're in this for knowledge of self and experience. That's your currency. For me, can't tell you how to live. For me in life, I'm not in this for sneakers and houses and bullshit. If that comes extra, great. I'm in this life for the true currency. Knowledge of self, knowledge of the universe, and true firsthand experience with that knowledge of self. That's the currency and value I'm here for. I won't trade a $10,000 half-acre piece of land out in the middle of the desert to get that experience and that knowledge and to practice the law. It may lead to $1 million on the back end if I'm willing to gamble with the 10. That's life. If I gamble with the $5,000 or $10,000 piece of land and I actually win or secure it, guess who's going to be in the money for a bunch of other people who want to hire Paulie Boy to secure their shit as well? You got to spend money to make money. You got to take risk in order to have asset and success. Isn't that the case in every venue? Get to it. And the same way I'm telling you all is the same way I'm telling me right now, because we're all one self. Just like I just told her. All this is leading to is I'm going to have to go buy some piece of shit land for $5,000, put it in trust, and then go, let's go. Send you letters. Do what you got to do. I want to see you take it. I bought this land to see you take it. Because the alternative is when you can't, I'm going to go telling the whole world like I just did about warrants and the rest of it. Where's my 5 warrants? Where are they at? Unless you feds are going to come in at some point and say that I'm a fugitive of justice and I've been running, so you picked up them cases. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think you got the goods because you know I haven't done wrong. I live on multiple states. I'll move freely. Ingress and egress like your fucking bullshit constitution says. I'll move in and out of those states at my whim and will. And unless you want to prove at a court of law that I'm running and hiding, doing a fucking broadcast every day, telling the world what I'm doing, good luck. Because I don't think you're going to be able to get it done. I'm crazy like that. I don't think they got it. And it's not about ego and pride. It's about all of us doing what the fuck is true and what's right here. You think if I thought I was doing wrong, I'd come on here and act like the way I do? Absolutely not. I'd be a fucking asshole. I'm already half an asshole coming on here and doing what I do because I'm basically begging them and threatening them and testing them to go beyond what it is that they know is true and correct. Out of ego and pride. Go ahead and do it. Throw it all away. Fuck it. I'm just one man. You want to throw me in a cage and fuck over my rights and freedom and destiny? I'm ahead of the game anyway. I'm living on borrowed time. Then you got to take on the karma, what the fuck that means for you in future generations. I wouldn't want to be you. The reality of it, at some point you got to surrender the rest and gamble a little bit. I think these folks, just like God, know my heart. They know I ain't doing nothing criminal out here. They know I ain't causing no harm. They know this isn't even about ego and pride. I get fired up and animated because I give a fuck about what's true and what's right in the future of this thing. What else is there if not? So yeah, I could talk my shit, but at the end of it, I go, guys, you understand what the fuck I'm doing, just like I tell them privately. I go, you know my heart. I put on to inspire the other people because I know if I don't inspire me and them, right, to do and be better and go past the fear, we're all fucked. So yeah, you better hope more Americans out there say, Paulie's right, and I'm going to carry myself that way. I'm a fucking man. I'm going to do what's true and what's right. You're not taking my shit. And I don't have to be belligerent and combative either to stand unwavering on what's true and what's right. If you could do it as a peaceful, loving, caring man, all the better, which is what I try to do as much as possible, especially when I'm face to face with these folks. The broadcast is a bit of a different venue where I kind of just let it fly. And I go, fuck it. I'm in front of the world. I'm going to say my piece. If you guys think I'm arrogant and ignorant and egotistical and all the rest of it, I guess there's one way to show me. But ultimately, why would you want to do that? Right? Why would you not want a bunch of men out here presuming they can govern themselves, presuming they're not actively doing wrong? Why would you not want a whole generation of men out here who are empowered and inspired and faithful and confident in themselves? And have self-worth and self-esteem and self-respect. Why would you not want that? Is it because all of you don't have it? I think so. So we better look at this collectively, all you agents and folks who are twice my age, who are my father figures in a sense. You better look at how you're looking down on and shitting on people like me who are essentially using our sense of self and what's true and what's right to create what you call the ego presentment, to inspire and empower folks to do what the fuck you haven't done yet. You don't think it takes some level of fucking ego and having to speak into existence? Yeah, I'm powerful. Yeah, I'm true. Yeah, I'm doing what's right. Yeah, they could fucking take my body, but they can't take what I'm choosing and what I'm standing for, which has always been beyond the incarnation from the beginning of time. You almost have to have some fucking ego or sense of self to do that. If not, I'd have folded long ago out of fear. The amount of fucking charge of fear they put on me over and over again. And I see how people around me react to it too. Majority of them, how they respond to it. There's only few and far in between in this. And honestly, most of us are not prideful, egotistical individuals. Like Jennifer said, she finally got a taste of what this life is like. And she says, you know what this introduces you to? Humbleness and humility. I said, yeah, you're on it. I'm humble with humility toward the creative force in front of and face of the truth. I bow to that. If you think I'm going to be humble with humility in the face of men and women who've thrown it all away, trash, who haven't done anything yet, absolutely not. I will speak the judgment and condemnation the force of creation is bringing down on all your goofy asses. And no, I don't like doing it, but it's what I'm here to do. So all the better. You want to make an enemy out of me for bringing that message? Good luck. When you see it manifest in physical form, you know I was speaking the fucking truth. That's how that works. You can't be egotistical and prideful when you don't have any control over your future. All you have is control over your thoughts, emotions, actions, and inactions. There's no way to not be humble with humility before the creational force. Because I know I'm probably going to have to go to a box again for not submitting and complying and cooperating and consuming their toxins. Probably going to have to go again. You can't be egotistical and prideful, having to submit to that process over and over again, knowing there's a higher and bigger will on the other side. You have to be absent of pride and ego to do the will of creation and surrender your own wants and non-wants and comfort over and over again. Who you guys kidding? The guys with the pride and the ego are the ones with the whole system and all the groups who think they're untouchable, doing harm and loss to an individual like me, who's trying to better their life and do and be better than they were in the past and has. You can't say I'm a dope addict, lying, cheating scum anymore. Can't say it. That's you. You guys are addicted to the dopamine rush of doing slavery every day and having domination and control over your fellow man. And it's fucking pathetic. And if you don't think I and the God of creation looks down upon you like a daddy would, you guys are an embarrassment. Way beyond the fear at this point. You're a fucking embarrassment to yourselves and this system and this creational experience. You know it and I know it. We're turning a corner here. The fear's no longer working. We're all realizing we're getting locked down and called non-essential. They're genociding us. They're poisoning us. What the fuck's the difference? So now that the fear doesn't work, we just look at you for who and what you are. And now you see us and we see you. And it's fucking humiliating. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a part of this endeavor we call America, connected to scum like you. And you got the balls to take a sidearm off me with 5 rounds and say typical, while you guys are armed to the fucking hills, doing war on your own people, doing war on fellow Americans, telling me typical. You don't know where we're at. You don't know where it's going. You fucking break. Go ahead, John. I'm going to get to the docket at some point. I can't come on here enough days in a row and just speak the fucking absolute truth about this dynamic and know that there's one scumbag. I know it. I can feel it. There's one scumbag. I'm like those preachers. I can feel one of you out there right now as policy enforcement. And I know you got a hold of me from interacting with me on the ground. And I know you watch me regularly. And I'm right in your fucking mind and heart where I'm supposed to be with that truth. I'm a fisherman of men. Like they say in the scripture, I got a hook in you. The only way you can do that is with the one truth, one life, one way. Is get a hook in all these folks somehow, some way. Right in your fucking subconscious mind. Where are we going to go from here, ladies and gentlemen? That's the question. It ain't about me. They kill me fucking tomorrow, put me in a prison. Yeah, rub your hands. Put Paulie into prison for 20 years and kill his motherfucking ass. You still got to live here. You still got to create here. You still got to deal with what you're living in and creating here. I don't at that point. That's the thing you guys aren't getting. Your worst fate for me only frees me on some level from a dynamic you's all got to continue to feed and create and live in. You like it, I love it. I've surrendered. Like your boy said the other day, Rosenkraut. I've surrendered at a certain point. As much as it scares me, is confusing to me, my worldly ways, my body, I've surrendered. This other thing's leading me now. I have no other choice. What's the alternative? Listen to you fucking slime? Listen to your statute, policy, and code? Vote for another misleader? Wait for everything to go down the drain without ever choosing? No. Why would I do that? That's boring. I at least get a choice in this. I get a role in this. I get my own lane in this. You know, you want to call that egotistical and prideful? Whatever. I'd rather be alive and be choosing and be part of the history and the scenario and be involved than be sitting on the sidelines quietly desperate, watching it all go down the drain and having no choice and no say and no activation in the dynamic. Why would anyone want to live like that? Because they're comfort freaks. Because they think that this is all there is this body they have. Right? This body, this house, this job, and when it's all gone, it's all over. Wait till you... I can't prove it. I don't want to say anything too absolute. Wait till you folks go through the process of death, because I suspect it's going to be a lot different than what everybody thinks in and of the world. You're going to go, oh my God, turns out it's not over. Right? And then they're going to realize, I wasted my whole fucking life and never did shit. I'm a fucking coward. Your spirit will know it somehow. It's the craziest thing. You drop your body and your spirit somehow still knows you were a fucking coward, but doesn't care anymore at that point because it's over. Like, gone, done with the body, dropped all the burdens and the gravity, moving on. But awareness is still awareness. Like your dog knows you're a fucking coward. I bet anything on it. You know, in its body or floating around as a spirit. Your dog, like your woman, most of you out there, knows you're a fucking coward. Just like your pure spiritual awareness will know it. Right? Absent even ego and pride. I'll go, what did you do when you had that body during this whole time while this was... Right. We know what that is. See you later. Have the incarnation event, right? The reincarnation event. I thought he said death is sexy. I go, let's not go that way. Let's not go full Marina Abramovic over here. Yeah, death is easy. It's the living that's hard, apparently, for the majority of cowardly slaves. What do you got, John? Give me some of your own thoughts, feelings, commentary, personal experiences. I'm sure I'm making you think over there. I'm sure I'm bringing something up.
Well, yeah, you take me all over the place, and that it's hard to focus on one thing. But yeah, I don't argue with anything you said. I mean, just the fact that over the last 3 years there have been over 3 million excess deaths kind of proves something over the average of what people allowed themselves to be put into.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of folks will use religionism as a cop-out. Well, it's already written, it's already prophesized, there's no way to change it, so just go along to get along. I don't accept that.
Do you believe in ghosts, Paul? Young was talking about the ghost thing.
It's not really belief, non-belief. I have it, I guess, an intuition that it exists. Right? I don't necessarily have any firsthand hard evidence or knowledge that I could point to beyond, I guess, what everyone else has experienced here to some degree. But intuitively, I guess I have a knowledge that there are things around us kind of in the air. You know, there's consciousness kind of, you know, this whole thing is consciousness. So where consciousness begins and ends, you know, where space begins and ends, all of that is kind of illusory to me. So I just presume that there's consciousness in and of everything, all around everything. You know, and that it expresses itself however it does for whatever reasons.
What about the possibility that everything's already written?
Yeah, I see some of that. I see how that works, but it's also a choice. Again, try to explain how something could already be done and also be a choice.
Right. When I was 18 or 19 years old, I had an experience. I was in the service. I hate telling this story, but I tell you the truth. My girlfriend thought she was pregnant, and I went AWOL for a little while. Okay. I was AWOL from the service. I had a dream that In the morning, I would be sitting on the toilet reading a medical book about pregnancy, and the FBI came to my house. The next day, I was sitting on the toilet reading a medical book, and the FBI came to my house. It happened exactly as my dream told me. But in my dream, they took me. But in reality, I didn't go to the door or anything like that, so they didn't get me. I just turned myself in a few days later. But it happened exactly as my dream. And that's the honest to God's truth, Paul. I swear to God.
Yeah, there's something with the kind of quantum field, I guess, of experience where it kind of overlays the deja vu events. There's something to that. I've seen it with my own self. I've seen it with other folks.
Yeah, I can't forget that. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, so there's kind of a program here that seems to be kind of static. There's a deterministic component and somewhat of a randomness component, in the sense of choice. It's like I say, with those, it's the way I equate it is those books where you fill out the blank, and no matter what words you put on the blank, the story is always going to end the same way. There may be a different characterization around the story, but it's still going down the same track, right? So it's like an illusion of choice where you get choice. It may alter the story, but the story is always going toward the same track, right? So there's really not as much variables and choice as it seems, right? It's like you're being funneled in life toward an eventuality, and you make choices to kind of slow it down or speed it up. It seems either way it's coming, because time is an illusion, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If you didn't have time, then invariably you would experience all things. And somehow, some way, it seems some folks are meant to experience some things and other folks not. Right? So it's like, I just look at it as, we make choices to delay the inevitable or to expedite the inevitable. Either way, the inevitable is right there on the periphery. It's really mostly about creating into whatever it is it seems is laid out for you, if that makes sense. Like at some point I came to the understanding that this thing had set up for me something with rights, freedom, principles, communications, faith, inspiration, like a preacher, like a minister. I didn't want that. I didn't think that I was that. It's what it became. So now from here on out, I just create into what it seems this thing has always had laid out for me that I had other ideas about. And then it seems like the intro talks about, these different videos I play, kind of the aligning between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. However God works, it seems to work through that thing we call the subconscious mind, where we're always aware something is there for us. We just have a bunch of shit overlaid when it comes to beliefs, experiences, what we're taught, what we believe is possible or not, And then once you start to throw all that shit out of the way, it's like the subconscious mind links with the conscious mind, and you start to become more aware of the track. Then you start to see the track unfold. And then when you get to the juncture on the track, you go, oh, I know where I am and I know what has to happen next. You're no longer living this life of meaninglessness and purposelessness and random chaos. It's almost like even when things get really crazy and chaotic, you know why it's happening and you know what needs to happen next. Right? That's the best way that I could describe it, going from a person who saw no connection and no order and thought I was just my own person and everyone else was their own person, to now realizing we're all oneself on the highest level, and on the lowest level, we get choices to either delay the inevitable or expedite the inevitable, which kind of then brings us to one timeline, it would seem. Right? Like it didn't matter what we all did prior to COVID. We were all brought to a point in history and time where we were forced to do this or that. Doing this or that then leads to the next set of circumstances of this or that. It's nothing but a track, right? Individually and collectively, right? So you could argue, even despite what I do individually, collectively, I'm going to have to experience the outcome of what 95% of slaves giving their power away and their value away and going along to get along. I will have to experience some judgment of that choice.
I think we have to consider the possibility that 70 to 80% of the people walking around are soulless. I hear that 70 to 80% of the people don't have an inner dialogue. How can that be possible?
Yeah, I don't presume to know, man. I mean, I don't like to do the whole thing of I'm special and I'm unique and I'm separate.
No, I don't either. But I just don't see how that could be. I mean, my mind is constantly thinking about something. How can somebody just sit there and not have any thought at all? That makes no sense.
Well, again, I mean, you have two polarities there. Is it beneficial to have your mind and inner space always going on a dialogue? And is it beneficial to never be able to do that? We probably need to find a middle ground with most things.
That's why we smoke weed, dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, at a certain point, I kind of have tried to practice a life of mindlessness where I'm not constantly thinking of things and having inner dialogue. For what? That's a being who lacks faith. The most truly faithful being doesn't have a need for inner dialogue. All right, because like what's presented is presented, and then the heart gets a sense of what needs to happen next, and then we just do that. Inner dialogue is like
Thinking
the games
through.
of the worldly person, right? Try to
Or
convince
thinking
themselves of
things
one
through.
thing or another. What now?
Or thinking things through, trying to comprehend what's coming to you. I mean, I'll think
Yeah.
about things that I have no idea why they come to me. I had no interest. Why does this thought even come?
Right. Well, that's kind of a different thing, right? When you're kind of going through your life and then something's sort of brought to you, that's kind of like your internal computer revealing something to you that maybe you're not focusing on. Yeah.
And when you're experiencing something that was similar to your past, do all those memories come to you right away? Say, oh, this happened then, just like it did now, or similar.
You
to
get to receive what you receive, John.
You can receive what you receive.
Apparently, many people don't understand rudimentary hypothetical questions either, such as, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast? They say something like, I had breakfast. Right, like the guy at the corner goes, I'm not a cat. Like, how would you feel if you were a cat? He can't even go there. His mind can't take him there. All he knows is, I'm not a cat, all right? Don't even ask me how. I don't even want to know what it would be like to be a cat. Right? Imagination is what you're talking about, I think, and it's sorely lacking. Folks really lacking in the imagination department. But that's good. The less imagination, the better it is for business and consumption, right? If you can't imagine anything, then whatever it is these people bring forth is like the best thing ever. It's good. It's good to have a population of unimaginative followers who just kind of think whatever crap is put out there is the best thing ever, because they're not really creating or doing or imagining anything. So it's like TSA. That sounds great. That's a great prospect. Remember the first time TSA was brought to everybody? They thought it was great. Apparently, the whole society. Well, TSA, that's great. It's going to keep us safe. 9/11, all that. Yeah, it was a sense of relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks can't imagine a world where there's no false authority and constant taking of rights. In their mind, their mind just shuts off. Imagine a world with no inherent monolithic authority. And they go, oh, it sounds crazy. I can't even imagine. That's crazy. It's craziness. They in their mind, immediately everyone's going to start killing and raping. The one thing stopping me from killing and raping right now is the fact that I might get caught.
Exactly.
that's their mindset.
All programming.
Yeah, the news has successfully taught everyone that their neighbors are horrible, criminalized, just bankrupt people. There's no faith here. There's no common sense. There's no ethic. It's just the one thing keeping your neighbors from raping, killing, and stealing is the fact there's cops down the road. Did you ever think maybe most people don't want to do bad, horrible things all day, every day? That's what keeps them from not doing it, is I don't want to know I'm a rapist. I mean, rape's gone through my head before. I mean, what man can't say that rape has not occurred to them as a beast, as a creature?
I don't think I've ever thought of rape.
Oh, John, please. Here
I'm
he goes.
serious. I wanted to go to sleep with a lot of women, but
you've never looked at a woman and entertained sniffing her ass.
Taking her forcefully?
No, I don't mean that. I'm talking liberal rape, neo rape, not rape.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking technical rape that's not actual rape.
Okay.
You see a woman in the store, maybe you want to sniff her ass or something.
Oh God.
And they'll say, what's that, Paulie boy? And I go, the dog does it. I'm a mammal. It's normal behavior. Right. But we're sophisticated and civilized. So now I just raped. Right. It's occurred to every man to do some rapey behavior from time to time. The reason I don't is because I don't want people going, hey, you're raping. And I don't want to know that, right? Like, I prefer to just be, and this is how they've tricked me. There's nothing wrong with that, John. Seriously. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all people. People are part animal. We can embrace it, right? But as soon as you do, this weird thing happens. You get guilty. Like, oh, I'm an animal now. I have an animal aspect to me. I just tried to sniff some woman's ass in line at the grocery store. That's rapey. Now I'm uncomfortable with me. But am I really? Or is it like they've taught me to be because someone saw me? You get what I'm saying here? You don't understand, do you? You never had that? Christos knows what I'm talking about.
There was this blonde that came in the Wegmans once years ago. And God, I was so attracted to her. I actually literally followed her around till I built up the courage to go ask her out.
Yeah, I
couldn't stop myself.
You were doing exactly. Yeah. You're doing hunting predatory behavior. It's a bit rapey.
I don't like that about me. That's one of my weaknesses.
But this is the point. They've created a whole system off of us as men being taught to be guilty about the fact that we're part animal. This is what makes us who and what we are. We can't do it without that. Why are we guilty? Why are we not liking the part of ourself that if wasn't there, you see what you get? A Michael Cino, beta male. The only reason that people love Paul Unslaved is because somehow, some way, the animal aspect of beingness is still intact. That's the animal magnetism. So we've been taught to be guilty and hate this aspect of ourselves that without that, we wouldn't be who and what we're meant to be. Powerful, inspiring, rugged, disgusting, grotesque, superhuman, godlike animal creature. It's an amazing story.
The control I mean is I know I could be manipulated by good-looking women then, and I wish I could just,
Yeah, that's the thing. Powerlessness, right?
That part of it.
That's why we got to develop dick control and good pimping.
Exactly.
Because that can be an issue, right? We are subject to a lust and an attraction and an animal impulse that can be a loss of control for us at times and a liability for us and others. But there's nothing inherently evil or bad or wrong about it, right? And I would appreciate if a lot of these neoliberal philosopher women online would cut it out, with the game of how the male animal is so bad and wrong and evil. And it's as they wear their leggings, to the gym, record themselves getting stared at, just cut the games. We're all filthy, lowly animals, and we have a godlike conscience. Let's make it work here. Makes for a great story. Go ahead, Christos.
Thank you. Yeah, my first girlfriend I had in high school, to kind of add on to what you're saying, take it for what you will, but she did tell me at one point, she claimed at least every woman has at least once fantasized about getting raped. And so I think it actually applies to what you're saying there to some degree with the animalistic nature and the bastardization of said thing to create these complexes and unintegrated shadow of our primal sexuality. So yeah, it might sound a little inflammatory, that statement, but I understood in retrospect over time maybe the essence of what she was getting at, and it goes along with what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a calling, it would seem, for the spirit to be able to reconcile the aspects of self that have been oppressed, repressed, and depressed. So yeah, part of the animal experience for a woman is being pursued, being hunted, being dominated on some level. And of course, we can kind of see how that works and find a middle ground. Like I don't think there's any man who is somewhat enlightened or self-conscious who gets any thrill out of dominating, controlling a woman. I think the co-creative alignment that inspires a man comes in when a woman chooses to submit to your perspective and discernment because it's tried and true, not just because she's a goofy bitch. That makes you feel worse, right? You want a woman who questions. You want a woman who stands for what's true and what's right. You want a woman just like you in a lot of ways, except willing to be the complementary aspect of you as a man, right? So I don't want some goofy bitch who goes along to get along and just does what I say because I'm the man in the room. Well, then when I'm not, she won't. And when another man is, she will. That doesn't get mutual respect, right? So again, the formality of who and what we're created to be that feels like it comes into alignment is when the woman willingly submits to a process with you long term and says, I have trust and faith that with what I've shown, that I don't have to be your enemy. I don't have to resist you. I can question you at times for clarity, but we're not enemies. We're co-creators in this process, right? And that's a process. A woman is not going to be able to submit to that with you until you show that you're tried and true, nor should she. She's got a list of beta males who told her she could submit and trust them, and they fucked up the package 10 different ways. So now most women are on guard. They're forced to have to be the man and the woman in the relationship, right? So I can see that, the more that you embody that, the more that you trust yourself and you have faith and confidence, and the more that you are competent and capable as a man, I've started to see that in myself, the more that you will trust yourself, and women and other people will trust you. And they will submit to whatever process is meant by God or the universe to unfold with you. But that takes, again, 2 willing participants. That takes an enlightened man who can see where he's supposed to lead, guide, and protect, and also yield, right? Because it's like there's a fine line there between the expectation and the want and desire for that versus being realistic about whether or not that's meant to happen at this time or not. You really got to be that way with yourself, right? I would not expect at a certain point, like years ago, for any woman that I was with to submit to a process with me because I was untrustworthy. I was unpresentable. I was dishonorable. I was too codependent and addictive. There isn't a woman out there who isn't fucked up and dysfunctional who would feel safe enough to trust me and my program and discernment to submit to a process with me, right? So you got to kind of really be like fucking hardcore realistic with yourself and where you're at and the long game process here of what should be meant for you at the time versus like what's happening, if that makes sense. So yeah, the more that you wake up every day and go, I know who and what I am, what I'm not, I can trust me. I got a certain faith system. I got a certain practice. I generate certain results. The more a woman can fall right into line with that because you can show her rather than tell her. You can show yourself and others. Well, you can show her, and it makes it that much easier for her to trust that process, right? And then, the indwelling test is going to be what a woman is throughout life and experiences. Things are going to come up. Fears are going to come up. Tests and challenges. If you can't speak something about your experience and perspective to take that woman out of her fear and point her back to faith, you ain't got it. That's it. Like, I'm not saying men should have to be a woman's daddy, a guide, a guru, a psychologist, all that. But oftentimes it seems that that's the case because you're dealing with like generational trauma. You're dealing with multiple relationships that had no closure. You're dealing with tons of trauma and lies and deceptions from these other males and lack of purpose and meaning. So you almost have to be at a point where you have so much knowledge and wisdom of self and also so much ability to yield at times and say, I don't know. Because there's been times where you'll fuck up the package with a woman if you claim to know, thinking that you're going to establish some kind of grounding for you to walk on. If you can't walk that grounding, don't expect her to, because when it crumbles, she's going to be looking at you. Why the fuck you told her that? So there's times where I have to tell Jennifer and other women I'm dealing with, I don't know. Like I could claim to know up until this point, true enough. And beyond that, I don't know. So if you think you're going to come to me to give you an explanation of what I don't know, it's not going to happen. We're going to find out together. That's where you come back and form another bond. When you can look at your woman and say, I really don't know, nor do I need to. We're walking on faith, not by sight. Are you going to walk this with me? That's the trust. That's the bond. That's the faith. We don't always have all the answers, far from it. Like I say, I'm lucky if I have enough answers for me and can keep my life on track and be faithful and trustworthy, honorable within me and in my life. Right. So just like I got to do that, she's got to do that. We can share that, but it has to be an indwelling individual process. And that's why I say most women are not meant to be a partner with me. Presuming they're meant to be partners with anyone else, they're not meant to be partners with me. The only type of woman who's going to be in a process with me or an experience with me is a student of life. Somebody who could completely submit over to whatever life has meant for us and not constantly be in push-pull, resistance, lack of faith, lack of trust, challenging me, thinking I'm their enemy, thinking I'm every other bozo, going to lie, cheat, and steal on them, right? That the only value I see in them is pussy. I mean, that's another issue that we have as males, right? Is like sexuality is like the end all be all in a lot of our relationships. We're not exploring the actual bond or like the self is self aspect or the idea that we need a woman next to us who like embodies some values, principles. If not, this is big trouble, So yeah, I mean, dating relationships can be testing and challenging. They have been for me because, you know, we all have desires, we all have wants, we all have attractions. But by the end of the day, what's meant for you, right? Few and far between, it would seem. So you got to reconcile that. You know, not everything is for everybody all the time. Far from it. Well, the path is narrow, as they say. The kingdom of heaven is few. Good luck, John, being a man nowadays of any kind of conscience and awareness, a student of life, going out and trying to date women. You know, if it ain't a statist, yeah. If it ain't some broken bitch who's got Stockholm syndrome, it's some statist, mind and heart control, goofy broad who thinks politics is real, who's going to try to tell me to be safe. You know, I mean, if not, then they're treated out over the last 4 years, so we can't have sexual relations. You know how many women I meet that want to fuck me and potentially will have my children or see great things with me who got the last 4 years treatment? We can't do nothing together. I have to let them know. And then they go, no, what do you, I go, I know, I get it. Like, I'm the guy you never thought you'd be attracted to. And now I'm rejecting you. I got to do it. I'm sorry. You know, my dick wants to fuck, but my heart and mind goes, you're vaxxed out. We can't do it. There's nowhere to go with it. You shouldn't have made that choice. You know, I'm not subjecting my child to any more toxins and corruptions than I already have put into my body and already in the environment. Absolutely not. You're not that special. Sorry. You're not that important, I guess, is what it comes down to, right? Like, if I'm not that special and I'm not important, you're definitely not. And you could take that as pride and ego, right? Like, none of us are. It just comes down to choice. So while I have faith and I leave it open that whatever's brought to me is meant to be brought to me on some level, I don't presume that meant to be brought before me means that I'm meant to co-create with everything that comes across my path, because it's not really the case, it seems to me. So,
and what percentage of women have even opened the door to truth, you know, out there? That's, I mean, I think about that all the time. You know, I get lonely, Paul. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think about, I can't be in a relationship with somebody that is stuck within that system. It's going to.
Yeah, I don't get lonely anymore. I'm alone at times, and I may have a desire or a want or an attraction, but I don't get lonely anymore, because when I'm alone is where I have my most inspiration, power, peace, and faith. If I start adding goofy men and women onto that equation who don't know themselves, my life gets more chaotic and it's not worth it. So I value my peace and my process and my empowerment and my faith so much that alone is usually where I do my best work. It's the same way how I've been forced to consider that when I'm in jail, I'm usually my best self. As scary as that is to admit, because when you have the distractions and the attachments and all the other stimuli, it lets you slack. Right? It lets you accept less. When you got nothing but your process, what's in front of you, you got to stay vigilant. You got to stay purposeful. You got to have a practice, right? That's just for me. Maybe other people aren't like that. I'm just talking about me, for me. So what I've learned, despite what I want or what I like, is I do my best work with just me and maybe a limited add-on of folks who are like on the track with me. If not, it's about me and that spirit and what my next move is. But it's got to be that way, because the only other alternative is codependency. And there's no way you're going to be inspired, empowered, and faithful if you need a motherfucker to be in your life to have that. That's what God is for. That's what self-knowledge is for. Not another person, place, or thing here to complete you. That's just my life.
But isn't human contact necessary? I mean, touch, you know, between a man and a woman. I mean, haven't been with a woman in a long time. When I go get my hair cut, this girl that cuts my hair, she kind of massages the back. I get goosebumps up and down my body when she do that.
I know. But that's the thing, man.
She gets good tips. She gets good tips from me too.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. Like, how much do you even really want women touching on you and eliciting these hormones and these endorphins if they're not meant to, right? This is where folks who really kind of became conscious and aware and enlightened and spiritual wouldn't just let anybody touch them and interfere with their neurochemistry. Because I get it, man. You know, it's like a high. It's like a drug. You know, women don't understand, or maybe they do understand. As a matter of fact, they probably do. That's why they do a lot of the shit they do and don't do a lot of other shit, because they know that they can hack into a man's neurochemistry and get him all caught up, right? But the more that you become aware of that, you go, why would I even put myself in positions to let a woman touch me and activate my endorphins who's not meant to? You know? Because now I start feeling love or warm and fuzzy or lustful and wanting touch from a woman who's vaxxed the fuck out and who's a slave. What do I get? How does that help me? How does that benefit me? Now I have to take on a whole other project of saving someone from themselves because my neurochemistry, my dopamine and endorphins, right? I mean, again, this was the whole point of a community, I would think. At some point, a community was a replication of oneself. So everywhere you went, it was pretty much another version of you, cutting your hair, making your fucking shoes. Isn't that the point of community? We all commune with a higher sense of self and we establish a level of common sense ability. So this way, when I go to wherever I go in my community, I'm met with essentially oneself doing a little bit of a different activity, but still retaining the same idea of self and principles and values and what's right from wrong. We're like totally divided, Babylonian out now. Because you go down the street and you got 10 different ideologies, 10 different religions, 10 different belief systems, 10 different political parties. And it's all nonsense. Genders. Yeah, 10 different genders. So now you're getting your hair cut, them endorphins are running, and that woman's got a meat sack between her legs, John. That's what she didn't reveal to you. That woman who you went to, who you just came from the barbershop, she was all over your head and you were feeling warm and fuzzies. That's a man, John. At least 30 years ago. Not now, because we got 10 different fucking characterizations for it. What is this guy saying? More pussy than Paul can shake his dick at. LOL, yes. I don't know what that means. Again, you don't live the same life that I do. I could get myself in a lot of trouble if I start interacting with every vagina that's also attached to a mind and heart. Right? Like, I don't want to end up in prison more than necessary because I'm fucking a goofy bitch who can't manage her own affairs, and she got emotional, started making claims about me. I don't need that kind of drama. That's the thing. You guys presume that more life means better life. You presume that more money means better life. You presume that more pussy means better life. It doesn't necessarily.
No.
Ask my father. He's got tons of pussy, according to him. Hundreds and thousands of women, he says. This guy's a fucking moron. He doesn't know himself. He has no wisdom. Right? He's got no discernment. And he's got no true love and care, obviously, to do the right thing in his life. So what's the difference how much money and pussy and whatever else more he's gotten to in life? It's only made him less of a man. It's only allowed him to be less of a man because he thinks the more he gets, the less he has to do. It's very Talcottian. See, folks like me who've never had shit most of our life, we've been forced to become something more as a person. See the game? When you have money and you have all the pussy and all everything, you don't have to be anything because you got it all already. When, like me, you've had nothing all your life, including a mother or a mother's love, it forces you to do and be and create something different inside and outside of yourself. Go ask all the women, right, who are good-looking women. They have horrible personalities, most of them, because they think in life they get everything they want by how they look. What do they have to create a character for? What do they have to have a depth of beingness or an understanding? They get everything they want in life just by how they look. Till they don't. Yeah, so the same dynamic goes on both sides, right? Men and women thinking because they have certain things or have certain appeal that they don't have to know or seek truth or create a character to live on the world stage. And then at some point you get old and, that vanity changes, right? Your physicality changes. That money doesn't go as far. And now you're left back with who and what you are and what you've created as a beingness and what you know. All right, let me get to the docket here.
You got a docket?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten anything yet. I got slavery, genocide, the usuals. Cops beat on door and instant regret. Apparently, this black guy didn't like the idea of cops rolling up on his house and banging on the door.
And let's get straight into it.
Hello, sir.
Hey,
How we doing?
doing all right.
You have a brindle pit bull
Yeah,
dog?
I got a brown boxer mix.
Brown boxer mix
Yeah.
dog, kind of a tiger stripe on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty solid, strong
Yeah.
looking thing. Okay. Well,
Next time, if you don't mind, don't beat the hell out of my door if you don't mind. Okay. I came to the door. That was a loud knock. I would never come to your house and do it. Don't come to mine and do it. Okay. Now let's handle some business. Actually, hold on. Whoa. Hey, don't do that.
Don't do what?
Put some shorts on, buddy. What is your problem? You don't have to swing my door open. When I close my door, I was going to put some shorts on. Okay? You don't have to beat my door down. All you have to do is knock. I'm nice.
Okay.
Now, why did you knock on my door so hard? Just be honest. Just why? I don't know. I mean, just be honest.
Yes, sir. Were you here about 10 minutes ago?
No, I wasn't. I just got home.
Okay.
I've got a lot of cars. I just got home. I just got off.
Okay. I was here earlier, and I didn't notice a change in the difference in cars.
Come here. Come feel my hood. Since you didn't notice the change in cars. Since you didn't notice the change in cars, you put your hand on this exhaust, and you let me know. Is it hot? Does it feel like somebody got off the highway?
I
Don't
didn't.
stand here. You can feel the heat come off of you.
I
Don't
didn't.
stand here.
I didn't say you were lying.
Well, you implied. Come
No,
here.
I'm not.
You ain't even got to touch it. Just come.
I can feel the heat
Thank
standing
you.
here.
God, man. So what's the problem? Now, all this could have been settled differently if you didn't beat the heck out of my door. I would have came to the door nice.
Okay.
But you've changed the situation. So what is the business now?
The fact that I am here again, been a while.
My dog. I know.
Yes, sir.
I know. I was at work. He gets out the fence. He's going to be tied up. When there's dogs running around in heat, a male will do anything. Most dogs, when they come through here, guess what I do?
It's not.
Guess what most neighbors do? We shoo them home. But it seems like you are just out to get him. I mean, and I know he breaks out.
Mm-hmm.
I discipline him too. And he's wrong. But the way you come knock on, beat my door down,
Yes, sir.
that's a no. And then swing my door back open after I closed it. Don't you ever do that again. You hear me? You cannot open my door. You cannot open my door when I close my door.
I can't.
No, can you? You can open when I close my door and say, I'm getting my shorts to come talk to you. You cannot open my door again. Do not swing my door open.
I cannot open your door.
You cannot open my door. You tell me you tell me what law says you can open my door. It's what law says that you can.
Can I trust that you don't have a gun?
Why would I have a gun? Now we're getting it. Why would I have a gun?
Can I trust that you don't?
Why would I have a gun?
Can I trust?
I'm saying, why would I have a gun?
Can I trust that you don't?
Why would I have a gun? Why does a gun even come up?
Can I trust that you don't? Because it's officer safety.
Officer safety would have been tapping on the door nice and having some backup if you fear for your life that I had a.
Right. So this is the problem, John, right? Is we got like a breach of trust between the average member, quote unquote, of the public. I don't like that term because we have the idea of member of the public. But like the average man or woman, there's no trust. So now when the officer comes to violate your rights, they go, I also feel unsafe violating your rights. I mean, you could argue it's supposed to be that way. You should never feel too safe and comfortable violating rights. Yeah. But now, like, this is where we're at. The trust is completely eroded and broken. The average citizen slave feels unsafe about cops. The average cop feels unsafe. Sir, what are you doing? All right. I had to mute him before, John. He's you hear him rustling around? Justin, please.
Sorry about that, man.
What are you doing? What's going on? You're breaking the trust between you and I, just like the citizen slaves and the agents. Justin, get back here. Don't mute now.
I apologize for the noise, Jess.
No, what are you doing? I want to know what you're doing.
I'm listening to the conversation, man. I'm listening to what you're about to say.
What else are you doing? Like, where are you right now? Are you at work?
I'm at my office, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You're not working. You're at the office, but you're not working.
I'm trying to get paid for not working.
Yeah, we got a problem. I'm going to need to talk to your supervisor. Could you put him on the line, please? I'm going to have to report you now. You're at work. You're at the office. You're slacking. You're interrupting me with bizarre noises. And you're not working.
I'm not working.
See this, no. John? I just caught him at his office listening to me. He thinks I'm okay with that. Serious problem now. What are you doing listening to me instead of doing work?
Well, I got to get mine somehow. So
what?
I mean, come on, man. You can't work 24 hours all the time. I gotta get a little. I gotta get a little. You gotta get a little me time in.
Little me time.
Yeah.
You want some spa time at the office.
Yeah, little me time, man.
Oh man, I gotta thank some people here. I'm also at work, sir. Mimi. Blessings to you, Mimi. You're an amazing woman. Mimi's kind of sexy too. The longer she hangs around here, the more I start having like weird thoughts. Not weird, natural. Got a thing for older women. What can I say, John? Trustworthy. They have money, right? Know what they want in life. They don't play games. Thank you, Mimi. Auntie Mimi. I'm pretty sure I just hit on my own auntie, but that's okay. We keep it in the family here. That's what America's about. Those are original American values. Julio M. That's a new name. I love when I see new names. That means that folks are like coming about from somewhere and they see value in me and what I'm doing. That's like positive for me, my self-esteem. If I ever have to go to prison, I'll sit there and I'll think back to the day that Julio M. came into my life and said, Paul, you have value. You're a powerful, entertaining, inspiring being. And I will think of that moment in prison, just like Chile de Castro will. It will brighten my spirits. For being real as fuck and an ongoing inspiration. See? Thank you, Julio M. That's cousin Julio from the darker side of the family. Southern branch. Jimmy S. Mr. Shively. Appreciate you and all you do, good sir, he says. Thank you, Mr. Shively. Much appreciated. Mr. Shively, a very generous man. Unlike a lot of these poor, broke, selfish, greedy, lustful, worldly, infidel slaves out there. Mr. Shively, not one of those. Your thoughts, Sean, before we get back? Let's move along. We got to hit the docket here. We got a lot to cover here. I did like the first 2 hours just fucking ranting and rambling, going off on these people. You did too, John.
That's not unusual.
Clear about it? Yeah, you were part of it. Don't try to distance yourself.
No, I was thinking about, is that a cop or a game warden at that guy's door? I don't know, man, but what the fuck?
What are you saying? Because the guy's black, he's non-human? John, please, with the racism.
Yeah, right. No, I can't believe that they do the
please.
things they do. I don't
all
know.
Of a sudden,
if
John,
that guy pushed my door like that, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, like someone just now is thinking about canceling me. Not that you can. That's the great thing about me and what I do. You can't cancel me, right? That's what I love. But you'll try, because I just made a joke. While we're in complete slavery and genocide and fascism, and black folks are actually being genocided and killed and put in private prisons, they'll cancel me for making a joke. Very old, hacky, tacky joke. This is the life we live in. They'll have me canceled and dragged off to a gulag for making an obvious racist joke, even though I'm not racist. That's the bit, right? I'm doing the ignorant white guy from the East Coast. I'm basically acting like my father actually is. What I'm doing, that's the bit. The bit is I act like my father for 5 seconds, a racist piece of garbage, right? Another one of his horrible qualities in life. Not bring him up, John. John, will you adopt me? Because they say you look just like my father in certain ways, but you actually like travel freely. You actually care about rights and freedom. You're not a complete degenerate, deviant, right? I'm basically asking you, is what I just realized here today. Like, can my father at 35 years old, can he emancipate me completely and have me? I don't know what the legal paperwork is there, but I think we're all children of the state. Can you disconnect me from that and have John adopt me as my technical, non-biological, biological father? Is that possible? What I'm asking. I feel like this would be way better for like family meetings, family reunion time.
Beyond the required age for something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. Why? I don't see why. I want to go like John's my dad. And I want to go, this is family reunion. It's me and John. Oh, no offense to my father. I mean, I love him. I care about him, but the man's insane. He's nuts. Something wrong with him.
It must be all that pussy he's getting.
That's the thing. He's got that fucking Kuru virus that you get in your brain from eating too much bad pussy. It's like eating like prionic disease. like you get from eating like lamb's brain and shit like that. Something like that. He's got like, what's that thing that they get, John? What's the thing that they said that they tried to insult this guy, Carl Jung? This fucking deviant audience of retards. Half of them. Half the audience is like deviants and retarded people. Some of them tried to insult Carl Jung and say that he had syphilis or something to that nature, that he was out of his mind. All right. That's my father. My father has that, not Carl Jung. Carl Jung, amazing man, genius in his own right, philosopher, pioneer. That's my father and Joe Biden have syphilis. That's what it is. Okay. Joe Biden got it from showering with his 40-year-old daughter. We won't get into it. Let's not get into it. It's in the book. Got to get the book. Joe Biden, also an accomplished author, just like my father, wrote in the book about showering with his 40-year-old daughter. Not going to get into it. He is an accomplished author, though, technically. Let's move on. All right. Buckle up. This one's called City Council Meeting. Let's go.
G. Blanchard, 1247. You spent.
Hey, now,
Excuse me?
I just read you the
And
first
you're wrong,
warning.
and you're lying to the
Okay?
public.
I'm not going to put up.
I'm not going to put up with
any
you.
defamation of character.
That's not defamation,
I'm not
that's
gonna
a fact.
I don't care.
You
I'm
have
not
to
going to
care.
put up with no profanity or anything. You either act like an adult and speak right to everybody that's here, and you have the privilege to speak your mind for 3 minutes.
You work for
I'm just
me,
saying-
boy. You need to
I'm just
remember
telling
that.
you. Go ahead.
That's your
Go.
warning.
Okay, I'm telling you.
Now rewind my clock while I finish my statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Chief Blanchard, $1,247 fitted suit you stole from the company. From us. You work for us. On 9/10/23. Kerry Shrugs, you lied to the public.
All right, Guy. Guy, we come here every day. You're lying. You're lying or your equipment is faulty, okay? My slave apps are working just fine. Jimmy Shively has been regular the last few days. Cousin Jimmy, extended friends and family, private non-taxable events. So I don't know why you're saying that, right? I'm getting the thing where you guys see, I've dealt with a lot of folks doing this, so I know you, even though you don't think I do. You're lying right now. You didn't try to give me anything. You're pretending to give me shit, so I pay more attention to you. And you didn't even try to give me anything. So like you're trying to game me and manipulate me. You want my attention more, and you think by bringing up money, you're going to get it. Well, this is how you're going to get it. I'm going to start insulting you. And I'm going to start saying you're insane and you're annoying me. Okay. If Jimmy Shively and others are gifting freely, non-taxable in the private events, extended friends and family, well, then it's a you problem if you can't get that done. Something's wrong with your equipment. Something's up with your slave app. Maybe you didn't upload the right fucking IDs or some shit. I don't know what you slaves are into nowadays. You got all types of fetishes. They're going to go, hey, you got to give us urine, feces sample. We need social security. I don't do none of that. I don't give them none of that. It's basic giving a family name, and I work in the private. And at best, you may have like a bank account attached to that. And we can get into that at some point too. You know, how all that works. Because my next move is I'm banking in trust, right? So like we can use entities. It's just not going to be first and last names of persons they create and have jurisdiction over. It's going to be like trust entities, and we can bank in trust and equity. Okay, using those entitlements and those entities. So, sir, please, I'm going to ask you to I'm going to need court-ordered mental evaluation of this guy, Robotic Doble 3K, who looks a lot like Owen Scroyer. So I think this is some kind of like inside job, psychological operation with Snafu Snaps and others. Cut the games. If you wanted to give me something, you'd have done it already. If you haven't, it's because you're not, or you're like lying, or you're trying to manipulate me. I don't appreciate that.
Kerry Shrugs on Facebook stated that these personally fitted suits was pre-approved by the council and manager of 2011. Jason Knight's dad was that mayor then. Guess what he said, Kerry? Never approved that. Laugh at me all you want. Modifications to the policy manual took place almost 40 days after I complained about him. Y'all modified it. Why did y'all modify it? You know when it was modified before, Kerry? Not 2011.
You know what? Now you want to play this game with me, kid? Look at me. Look at me now. All right? You give me your Cash App name right now because I'm going to request money from you every day now. You want to play this game with me? Because you can request on Cash App. I'll hit you up every day like I need it. Because you say it doesn't work when you try to give it to me. I dare you to fucking put your Cash App name down there right now. I'm going to get right on this fucking thing. And then like once every other day, I'm going to tell you what you're going to send me. Since it's so hard for you to give it, I'm going to ask for it. And then he's going to go like $10. That's not good enough. I want 20. So go ahead and give the name right now. And I'm going to request at least once every 2 days, because this is way better than Netflix here. Netflix is trash. It's a bunch of people lying and faking. This is me. I'm a real person here. Right? I'm talking. I'm doing it. There's no script. So I'm way better than Netflix. You're giving me at least $20 every 2 days. And now you better put your fucking link down there, because I'm going to ask you for it. I'm not above it, man. I don't do that from anyone else. Let's be clear. Folks in Telegram who keep telling me people are messaging them, pretend I don't do that. This guy is the only one I'm doing that with. So we're being clear now. If anyone messages you and says they're me and want something, I never do that. I'm never going to do that. Well, I'm never going to say what I'll never do again. I have in the past and I've been wrong. I don't plan on ever doing that, and I'm not doing it now. Right? I'll just go Uber or something. I'll just go. I'll go work at Applebee's. Me and Penile. All right, I'll go move to Florida. Me and him we'll do the nighttime tag team server bit. Okay. So yeah, but for this guy who's playing games with me, I'm requesting money directly from you, sir. You need it. You need to be accountable.
11, I do. 2019, 2014, 2004.
You lied to the public. What's that now? What just came through? That's really weird, Christos. All of a sudden, $1 just came through from Joshua. Soon as I told him put his name down there, I'm going to be hitting him up once every 2 days, like I'm a heroin addict again. I go, hey, Josh, you got 20, bro? Can I borrow 20? I got you at the end of the month. And then I never pay back. Right now, all of a sudden it worked. Joshua sent you $1. There you go. See, you figured out how to get it to work. John, these people act like I don't know. They're totally full of shit. They try to bullshit me. They try to manipulate me and game me. And then I reverse game them. And it just proves I was right all along. He didn't try to send me anything. Soon as he tried, it came through.
Well, Paul, it makes me think of what a month back or two when that guy Sanity Machine hit your link. And he's like, oh, didn't you email me about coming on your broadcast, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, no, sir, I don't remember that.
Never happened.
It must be that situation of people claiming to be you. Yeah.
And that $1 doesn't count. So I want 20 plus the $1 you just sent. Don't try to play with me. Look, I'm gonna request shit from him now. Now you're not gonna be able to get rid of me. You want to play with me and send me dollars and act like it wasn't working? I'm requesting shit now. Matter of fact, I'm going to dinner tonight, and it's on you. I want 50. I'm refunding him his $1, and I'm requesting 50. Dinner's on him tonight. Sick of these people. Give them way too much here. This is what they do to me. This is how they treat me. You got to insult your audience, Sean. It's just, you got to do it. You can't be too nice to these fucking people.
Recent modifications. A Class A uniform is the highest uniform APBD has, and it is not a suit, you scumbag. Uniform Class A. Did you have a dress hat? No, you did not. Long sleeves. Did you have that? Yes, you did. Tie, yes. Trousers, yes. Skirt, I mean, maybe.
Mr. Mayor.
Black belt. I'm talking. It's my turn to talk.
Personal attack once again, Mayor.
Peace. I don't give a crap what you say.
Okay, now.
There it is again.
I can talk like that. It's a First Amendment right.
Violating the rules of the court.
See, Branson, what First Amendment right did I violate?
Oh.
No, I'm not. He's the cop. You tell me.
I'm not.
What First Amendment right did I violate?
I'm not. You're either going to respect this place or you're going to be asked to walk out.
Am I under duress of arrest?
You're going to go to jail if you.
I'm going to be arrested. Fine. Okay. Here.
Oh, I can go. Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is CJ Grisham. I'm a civil rights attorney here in Texas, and what I just witnessed was a violation of Mr. Followell's rights. Let me read something to you. Arresting someone in retaliation for the exercise of free speech rights is sufficient to chill speech as an understatement. This is Beck v. City of Upland. Arguing, even if done loudly with a profane or offensive language will not, in and of itself, constitute disorderly conduct. That's Payne v. Pauley. Swear words do not provide probable cause for an arrest for disorderly conduct because the words, as a matter of law, are not fighting words. Johnson v. Campbell. I could go on, Mr. Mayor. your rules of decorum are unconstitutional and they're setting the city up, you individually, for liability. Now, you will be seeing a letter from me, a demand letter for violating my client's rights just now, because he has the right to say bitch, whatever.
Oh.
He has the right to say all of those words because it is a First Amendment right. You can't do anything about it. Let me tell you something. The law has long established that arresting an individual for publicly displaying vulgarities violates the First Amendment. That's the Cohen case, 1969. Indeed, the Supreme Court recently held that a public school violated the free speech rights of a cheerleader by suspending her when she said things like school, softball, cheer, everything. Then there was another, that's Mahoney Area School District, VBL. There's also Eachus v. Steelman, saying that a police officer was not entitled to qualified immunity for arresting a plaintiff who said, you. Did you hear that?
Here we go.
No qualified immunity. So I can say throughout my entire 3 minutes, I can say again, and I can say again, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's called expressive speech. We are allowed to express ourselves. We are allowed to talk about what we think about you. If I think you, Mr. Mayor, are a tyrant, I can say that. If I think the city manager is a piece of shit, I can say that. It's protected. This is the case law. I don't give a shit what you think. The law is right. You escort me out, I'll sue you as well, Mr. Mayor.
Do whatever you want.
This is the law right here. And if these chiefs come out here and pull me out of this meeting, you had better read this, chief, because he's telling you to break the law.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You can take him
Now,
out.
where'd that coward Kerry Scruggs go?
You go out.
Where'd the coward Kerry Scruggs go?
Take him out.
Is my 3 minutes up?
No.
Is my, what am I gone for? What am I gone for? No. His rules of decorum violate the law.
You're going to go to jail for this.
Oh, you're going to arrest me? Oh, you're going to arrest me? Okay, so under the threat of arrest, you just violated.
All right. Okay.
Here, you're not going to read these because you have no qualified immunity.
Oh, go file out of the meeting.
I'll stay right here. I'm not. I have left the meeting. Read these because you have no qualified immunity.
Oh, go file out of the meeting.
I can stay right here. I'm not. I have left the meeting.
No, you're gone.
I have left. I'm not in the meeting anymore. I'm not in the meeting anymore.
Goodbye. He's gone.
No, I'm going to stay here quietly.
For disrupting. He doesn't want to listen.
You guys might want to. You guys might read this case law. You're. One of you better read this case law. None of you have qualified immunity.
Sue already.
Okay. In that case, all right. Here, let me get everybody's badge numbers.
You can get it out here right now. You're gone. Sir, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be quiet.
These people are
You're gone. Goodbye.
These people are
Goodbye. You didn't ask to leave. Please leave. Stop
Under
making
what
things
stupid pieces of shit.
Kick you out of the meeting.
He unlawfully kicked me out of the meeting.
Yeah, but see what they all say now, and this is where we're all at, on the macro level. They all do this thing and they go, whatever, we don't care about the law. Sue us, right? So now we're all at the point where they won't observe good sense and good reason and good faith in the law. So we're all going to have to sue these bitch-ass motherfuckers from coast to coast. Because the only way that you get a broken hoe right is checking their fucking pockets, right? This is the world of Mammon and Babylon. Wow. So you want these folks to do what's true and what's right, you're going to have to take the only thing from them that they respect and value, which is their non-money. God forbid they do what's true and what's right because it's true and what's right. Nope. They're not going to do it till we check their fucking pockets. So that's where we're all at right now. And that's what folks need to work on. Suing their asses from coast to coast and getting them back in fucking line. Since they don't want to settle properly in the public or in the private and do reconciliation and do what the fuck they're supposed to have been doing all along anyway.
You're disrupting
Then close the door, Big.
Close the door?
Yeah, close the door, Big.
That's not a public meeting? Get out.
Excuse me, don't touch me. Don't touch me. You are assaulting me right now.
Please walk.
Don't touch me.
Please walk. You're not following commands. Thank you.
Well, I'm not following unlawful command.
Okay.
All right, so we got Persian. Persian, what's your badge number?
412, sir.
412. Next. Salazar. 430. Next. How do you spell that? How do you spell that?
Streich.
Streich. 442. Next.
Hey, Baker.
Baker. A. Baker.
432. Gonna make Baker.
432. Next.
No, you have
W.
HIPKEY. 437.
H.I.
HIPKEY. 437.
Next. H. Thomas.
Brian, good to meet you. 435.
435. Next. Is that it?
That was rude of me.
And Blanchard.
401. I understand you're not mad. I understand that.
Guys, I want you to know something.
Yes, sir.
I literally quoted them
Yes, sir.
the case. Whoops, there it is. Sorry. I literally quoted them the case law.
Okay.
That what he just did is unlawful.
Yeah.
I also quoted the quick case law that you lose qualified immunity by arresting me for what you just did. Okay. I literally, so no, but you would have arrested me. You threatened to arrest me.
I didn't threaten to arrest you.
Your chief threatened to arrest me, and he told you to arrest me if I didn't leave.
Which is under duress.
Which is under duress. That is essentially an arrest. Okay. So none of you have qualified immunity. If I walk through this door, who's going to arrest me?
If
I need to know.
the official proceeding, sir. You
Yes.
can be in the-
Who will not arrest me if I go through this door?
I want you to go in there and speak, but I want you to speak in a calm.
No, I'm done speaking. That's all been done. What I want to know is if I go back in this door,
Yeah.
who is going to not arrest me?
Are you going to disrupt the proceeding?
I didn't disrupt the proceeding last time.
It sounded like you were loud in the hallway, and then we had.
No, I was not in the hallway because you were illegally pushing me out of a meeting.
Yeah.
The mayor kicked me out.
I wasn't there for that. I was there for you getting out of the building.
So you don't know what happened in there. So why are you saying that I was disrupting the meeting when you have no idea what I was doing in there?
I didn't. Oh, okay. I said you were disrupting the meeting because the chief said you were disrupting the meeting. That part I heard.
Okay. And the chief said I was disrupting the meeting because I said at the podium, which this specifically says the word, because I even quoted straight from the case law, school, cheer, softball, everything. That's Mahoney Area School District v. BL.
Okay.
All right. That her free speech rights were violated
Yeah.
when they suspended her for that.
Okay.
There's the Cohen case where he was at a meeting and he wore a draft. Same thing.
Okay.
So I said, the mayor said, I can't say that. I says, well, Mayor, I just read you the case law. I can say as much as I want. I can say you, I can say them, I can say piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
you expect them to know that?
I just read it to them. I literally just read it to them.
I could print something off the internet that says what I wanted to.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is that really your argument?
I could print something off.
When a lawyer comes up here
Yeah.
who's an officer of the court
Okay.
and says what the law is, and there's not a city attorney in there,
This isn't a court proceeding, though.
it's not, but this is a public meeting
Yes, sir.
where I have a right
Yes.
to seek redress, do I not?
Yes.
I have a right to criticize elected officials.
Yes.
He has a right
Absolutely.
to. Now, I'm not going to sue on my behalf.
Okay.
I'm going to sue on his behalf.
Okay.
So I need to know, I guess, even more appropriately,
Yeah.
if Mr. Followell goes back in there,
Mhm.
is he going to be arrested?
I don't believe that he doesn't have a criminal trespass. He was.
Well, let's try it then. Let's see if we can just go sit down.
All right.
And just don't say a word.
All right.
No.
Oh yeah, imagine a world where we're going to use everybody's hearsay and random decisions and policy and code and just interchangeable ethics codes to interfere with somebody's free expression because they're disrupting XYZ. That's not against the law. It's not against the law to disrupt your ridiculous little meetings where you clowns get together and hallucinate and pretend and imagine things together. Everything's against the law at this point, if you ask these people. You know,
If they say so.
yeah, there's no victim, there's no crime, but you could be taken and hauled off or have your, freedom and rights interfered with because, hey, it's inappropriate, right? Everyone's governing with their mama's spirit now.
Yeah,
That's exactly how mama, corrupt big mama would govern. Well, we don't like that. That's a misdemeanor. It's inappropriate. Do what we say or else.
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that without those costumes on, those guys wouldn't fuck with that dude.
Well, of course not. But they're on the side of righteousness.
Yeah,
Constitution overrides rules of council. This is Ray Lyman. You know what? Let's get to O'Shea. I want to view the O'Shea. He just posted a gong show apparently on Denver. Used to be an old show where they'd hit the gong if you sucked. So apparently they're remaking that. They're doing their own version of that on some kind of Denver club.
The,
So
the
let's go
host
to
of
that.
that show is supposedly CIA.
The Gong Show?
Yeah, what was his name? Chuck Berry or something like that? He's
Chuck Berry.
supposedly-
Barris?
No,
I don't know.
Something like that. But yeah, supposedly back then it was going around that he was a CIA agent.
Yeah, well, that's not me. That's not Brian O'Shea, to my knowledge. Neither of us are affiliated or associated with the Central Intelligence Agency, although I have admitted freely that I have put the CIA and FBI on notice that we have local and state actors who believe that they have a right to interfere with other people's rights just because they're in costume, and even falsely imprison and falsely arrest. But no official affiliation or association, just activation of them to do what's true and correct. We'll see where that goes.
We're popping another Gong Show cherry. And I really hope it's the person I think it is. Brian O'Shea, everybody. Oh, damn it. Let's go, Brian! Yeah! Hey, Brian, your time starts.
I was talking to my black homie about sex. And I'm like, yo, I'm in a missionary. He's like, that's not weird. Just don't be short stroking the whole time. You gotta throw in a few long strokes. And I realized there's a whole version of intercourse that doesn't involve a small penis. That seems like a lot of fun, seriously. I don't know. Drug related. You know when you're really into someone and like get the butterflies in your stomach, and all of a sudden you get released from prison early, and you're like, what the fuck, dude? Seriously, you guys, I got some ideas for later. My grandmother died, her hair, with a shotgun. Seriously, guys, don't get any weird ideas about it. My name is Brian O'Shea. The kids in school used to be really cool. They're like, your initials are B.O., faggot. Seriously, if you want to hang out later, I got a car out in the parking lot. Fucking relax. I don't know. My grandpa's got AIDS. We come over to his house and help him out.
Oh, you guys are like
Anyways.
weekend,
I don't
dude.
know if you've ever rollerbladed lately, but special pairs. Anyone call me up. Big booty bitches be tripping sometimes. He's got a big booty and rollerblade.
Chill, dog. Chill, dog. Roll up on him real quick, JoJo.
You ever get so high, you feel like Biggie Smalls without the confidence, just overeating and breathing weird and shit? Seriously, you guys, if you want to fucking roll out later, dude, we're gonna fucking banging some tunes on my little portable speaker. It would be cool, man. I got fucking CDs. Whatever, dude. Bone Thugs and Harmony. I don't know what you guys are into, but I didn't start beating off till I was 28. I don't really want to get into it, but fuck it, dude. We're here. I was the wet dream king of the South Side of Chicago. I don't really want to get too much more into it, but fuck it. You know what I mean? Gotta break records. So, if anyone pissed me off, I spent the night on the couch, dude. You guys are legit, dude. Seriously. You guys fall asleep later, don't even worry.
Pandemonium.
I'm throwing him the challenge flag.
O'Shea, going forward, can you like mic yourself up properly somehow, some way? Is it possible? I mean, we're already like 100 fucking stand-up performances in. Could you just get the damn mic set up? Like, could we get you with a clip-on mic directly to the device? You're racist. Right.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. Let's try to act like we've been here before. Let's try to come up with a semi-professional production here. Like this crowd is insane. They're all drunk. They're all slaved out and chaotic. They're beating on the gong. Like, what other option do they even have for comedian? Like, who's before you? Who's after you? Is it going to get better than you? Doubtful. Yeah, we're missing punchlines here. You know. All right, I'm just gonna leave it there because again, Brian O'Shea, you got a phone all the way across the room, making it such that you're actually the device you're recording on is actually as far away from you as it could be, making it such that we can hear the audience way more than we can hear you. Again, because the device on the other side of the room, making it such that the audience is in between you and the device, making it such that we can hear the audience way more than we can hear you, making it such that the recording is almost completely unusable and audible. So
maybe he thinks that 25-foot rule applies like when recording the police.
Yeah, no, he's okay. I've told him this before. You could put the damn phone right behind you so we could hear you before we hear the audience rather than the other way around. Again, we're working on it. Brian O'Shea, a little slow on the uptake. You know, not the smartest guy in the room, but very funny, obviously, as you could see there. Well, you couldn't see it there because you couldn't hear anything. Devin C, no message. Thank you, Devin C, for your contribution.
By the way, it was Chuck Barris, and if you Google him, one of the questions underneath him asked, "Was he a CIA?"
Now, isn't that amazing? How my mind is a steel trap of facts? Because he said Chuck Berry, and I immediately somehow pulled Chuck Barris out of my ass.
I know you amaze me, dude. You really do, especially with the older stuff.
I amaze me, John. I don't know how I just did that. I don't need to know how. It means God's working. Something bigger is going on here, people.
When you bring up that old nostalgic stuff, I'm saying, how the fuck does he know this shit?
That's the thing. I'm completely connected and tapped in to the universe.
Anyways, yeah, he was supposedly
an
an assassin.
Yeah, whatever. For some reason, I had to request from you, what's this guy's deal? Is that Devin? Are you Devin? Who's Joshua then? What's up with this Joshua guy giving me $1 and insulting me and not giving me anything else? Was he just trying to test the cash out? It was working. He does that. Now I'm going to insult this Joshua guy because if that's Devin down there, he actually did give something. And this Joshua guy throws $1 at me and then nothing else. What's that about? Man, you imagine if we did a live broadcast, John? This guy just crumpled up $1 and threw it at me. He thinks that's okay. These people have no fucking class or etiquette, courtesy, none of it. Like these people were raised in a barn or something. They treat me like I'm inhuman. They talk about me like I'm not here. They insult me like I have no, humanity to me. It's incredible. They throw dollar bills at me like I'm some kind of a fucking sideshow act. Some kind of a low rent hooker at their local strip club. They just throw $1 at me and then they go, yeah. Appreciate you, Paulie boy. I'm here for the shrimp. I'm here for the steak and shrimp. Christ almighty. Why do I even come here anymore?
Did you ever
Seriously.
find out what happened to that girl you were covering the other day?
No.
What was a tattoo on her head?
Listen, that woman that I was covering, okay, you weren't supposed to know about that. That's the way I have sex. And yeah, you're not going to understand it. A lot of people aren't. But it wasn't, as you put it, covering her. It just looked that way. I was copulating.
I'm talking about the girl that was in Zoom court. The
Oh.
tattoo on her head.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. No, I don't. What about?
Okay.
What about her?
I was just wondering if you found out the results of what took place
Oh,
there.
you think I look into these people? They're insane. I got enough of my own problems. You think I'm gonna follow up? John wants to follow up on the woman who's drug addicted.
I was just asking if
who
you
appeared at some obese woman's court. No, John, I didn't do a follow-up. Newsflash, this isn't a real broadcast here. All right. I gotta explain everything to these people. I'm not actually a broadcaster. I never went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I just fucking turned the camera on one day and people go, You're kind of good. Keep going. And here we are. I don't actually do a news broadcast. I'm gonna break all the things that I'm not, all right? Because I feel like you got confused. I'm not an investigative journalist. Not a broadcaster, really. I'm not a newscaster. That's Snafu Snaps, right? That's about beyond my pay grade. The investigative journalism and following up. You got to go to Snafu Snaps for that. He's down the hall, right? He's the investigative journalist. Unreal. You know what, John? Just for you, I'm going to do a follow up on that woman.
I was just wondering if you had. I'm
going to look into her name, where she works, like other court appearances she's had.
I felt bad for her.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right? You need to do a follow up. You look into her and maybe send her a Cash App or something. More than $1, like Joshua down there. Yeah, help her out, John. She could use it. Obviously, she could use some help. You know what? I am going to look into that tomorrow, if I'm reminded. Many of the things that I have to do, including saving the world from itself. Here we go. The disturbing reason why marijuana was made illegal. I know where that's going to go.
Why it was made legal?
No, illegal.
Oh,
I already
illegal.
know where they're going with that. I can already tell because there's a black person's hand in the thumbnail holding the weed. I already know where they're going right to Anslinger with that one. Do you people know that the reason that marijuana was illegal originally is because they said black people brought it and used it? Yes, that's right. That was the good old days of America.
Well, you remember the programming back then. People that smoked marijuana always were portrayed as these lowlifes that lived in the street, but the people drinking alcohol had the suits on, the gowns,
which is pretty much true still to this day, right? All the attorneys and doctors and folks are out sipping cocktails. Paulie boy's, a trailer dwelling, borderline homeless gorilla.
Yeah, I can't believe they don't do the same shit.
I don't know how that works. I've studied this. My father, being a type A douchebag, egotistical and prideful as he is, and corporately motivated, right? Very worldly and shallow, materialistic individual. Not big on the marijuana and the other drugs. And what I've deduced it down to is these people are control freaks. And what marijuana does is when you use it, it forces you to get more trusting and faithful, at least at first. That's most drugs. You got to develop a relationship with them, just like God. This is the overlay I find with these people and their personality disorder. The infidel who lacks faith or belief in anything outside of itself cannot submit completely to any process, including taking drugs, because they go in their logical, rational mind, I don't like these drugs because I lose my sense of self. I go, no, that's the false self. And when you folks lose your sense of false self, you feel out of control and you're control freaks. So instead of you learning how to be trusting and faithful and just get through things, they have to cling to some state of consciousness that is like illusory, that to them seems like control, even though it's the undoing of actually everything good and true and honorable and faithful. Good luck trying to teach one of these clowns about metaphysics, right? And about conscious and awareness, because they go, yeah, Paulie boy, you're getting real heady on me, real highbrow and deep. It's not that deep. They go, we just don't like pot. They go, okay. You know, and then like invariably, if you ask them, like if I ask them 5 questions, they give me exactly the answers I would get from every other person like them, which then like leads to more evidence that my conclusion is correct, because my conclusion comes from a hypothesis of what I know about me, what I've learned about me, taking these drugs and living life, that like we all want to be our own special, unique person. We all want to believe we're logical and skeptical and rational and reasonable. We all want to believe we're in control of our life and our destiny. Turns out, when you look back on it, your best thinking got you here, and your best thinking, you could argue, was given to you by folks who control your mind and heart. Shocking, I know. Right? Good luck trying to convince these folks that they've been fooled rather than just fooling them. You know, easier to fool them than convince them they've been fooled.
Very true. I agree with you on that.
So yeah, what I find oftentimes is, you know, and again, this is kind of what makes this experience magical, is like the type A people get up early every day, they go to the gym and build the rest of civilization. Like they're the ones constantly moving, shaking, building, doing. And then there's the rest of us who, in my natural state, I'm probably more of a type B, as they say, type C person, less of a doer, more of a thinker, contemplator, metaphysician, if you will. There are physicians and metaphysicians. And then you can argue somehow, some way in life, through the process of our upbringing and then the balancing act of middle aging, we're like kind of meant to take a little bit from each other and become more like each other in certain ways. Like I've learned that in my life, I got to get up off my ass and do and create and build and work more physically. Right. I've found in my father's life, he's got to sit down more, take a breath, reflect on it, stop doing, be more. Right. So some of us have to do more, other ones have to be more. And usually it's based in alignment with the personality type. And then through our life practices and experience, we can somehow, if we work at it, come to a middle ground where we become a little bit more like each other and a little bit more of a holistic being who's able to create a life for themselves and others based on objective logic, morals, ethics, reason, and then the other, because the other oftentimes is not logical and it's not reasonable, you know, according to the world and folks who live in and of it, if that makes sense.
But by the time you actually get to that point, though, and actually realize that, though, most of them actually have lost a lot. I mean, your father, by the time he actually sits down and takes a breath, from what I've heard, he's already kind of fucked up his relationship with you, right? I mean, it's not where you wish it would be, correct? Because he never slowed down.
It's a continual process. It's not he's fucked up the relationship with me. We can't relate to each other. And I contend a big part of that is because he can't reflect on himself and be self-analytical without projection and rejection. Right?
By the time it gets to that point, it'll probably be too late.
Probably, yes. That's what I've concluded at some point, that my father's pride and ego, as he put on the back of the only book he ever wrote, where he also says he's an accomplished author, he says also there that ego's been one of his biggest problems in life. I concur. The problem is he won't let me help him to dissolve his toxic sense of self and ego to come more in line with one true self that I have attempted to do. And I believe I have done. I can't prove that, and I can't claim I am that and deny his experience either, because it'd be rather hypocritical of me. Right. So I go on what I can show, what I can explain, and what circumstances are revealing, because I believe it's the most objective and ethical course of action, right? To try to separate what I want to be true, don't want to be true, what's happened in the past from what is that created what happened in the past. Because again, it's not my regret and resentment over things that have happened between me and him in the past. If anything, the regret and resentment is he will not change who and what he is that has led to things that have happened in the past. I have done nothing but that process. Right?
Right.
So, again, I contend maybe there may be a place properly in a way for regret or resentment. And then we move past it. I don't have to live with it constantly, but it's there. To deny it, I think, is foolish, right? Or disingenuous. There is some regret and resentment there that my father would rather put his pride and ego and false sense of self before our individual and collective growth and learning and healing process and unification process. And he proves it at every fucking turn. While I do a broadcast, choosing to come here, listen to what I have to say, knowing how he's going to get triggered, and then choosing to lie and disparage me and play fucking egotistical, prideful game. See, if he was really in any kind of faith space or righteous space, he'd stay the fuck away from here, knowing what he's liable to get. And if he did come here, he would practice anything but what he usually does. And he doesn't. So that's a problem, because it's ignorance and arrogance. Not only will you not respect the boundary and stay the fuck away for everyone's own good, you show up and do the same shit you've always done that's always led to the same place, not only with me, but with other people in your life. Some point, you got to get a fucking clue, right? Some point, you got to get a fucking clue. I'm guessing it's going to be with most of these people really close to that death day.
That's what it's probably going to take. My dad's the same exact way.
Yeah, because you know what the subconscious is here? These are broken people who've given up. They only seek to collect experiences and forms of value in and of the world. And subconsciously, they hate themselves and everyone else so much and are unaware of it. They're going to make their whole life a testament to making everyone else wait for them to get what the rest of us have already gotten. So they will literally make their last act you being guilty about how you've lived the whole time, because there's an aspect of this of being faithful and surrendering that they're going to get it on their own time. And there's an aspect of this of them not choosing to get it till the last moment so they can make you feel guilty about everything they've helped to create in between. And I'm not going for it, because I see the fucking game. I see how they lie to themselves and me and think that I don't know what they're doing, even if they don't. Subconsciously, I know what they're doing. They want to get to the last possible moment where they can do the redemption and the repentance and then make you feel guilty for a lifetime of fighting and arguing that they've helped to create chiefly. If only you would have surrendered in faith and let me get it on my own time. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
You folks have had the last 4 years and 3 to 5 to 10 decades, if not intergenerational lifetimes, to fucking get it. And you still choose not to play the game and do the dance. Well, I'm done playing and I'm done dancing. I'm finding a seat. You can continue on with the games and the hallucination of self and others, right? So I know what they do. I've seen how they do it. I know the games that they play, and they'll claim they're not consciously aware of it, but it's right below the surface. They're actively, strategically, like someone playing chess, plotting when they're going to decide to give up the bullshit in the game right before they check out of here, so they get to play the game on their own terms up until then. You're just kidding yourself. You're just tricking your own self out of your true power. This is what they don't get. There's a whole other state of consciousness here, lifestyle, track, and results that's available for them. They would rather play their own bullshit game and put all that aside than open up the track to receive all of what God has meant for them. Just to say they did it their way, like Frank Sinatra. It's ultimate foolishness and hubris and disempowerment and lack of inspiration. Because if you just put your garbage aside now and live the rest of our time here properly, you would give way to exactly what God has in store and meant for all of us together. And you can't submit to that. You can't imagine that. These people have so much neuroses and control freak issues and personality disorder and lack of faith. They just can't do life on life's terms, even down to when they get the revelation and synchronicity, continuing to ignore it. Just to say they did life their own way, till it becomes painfully obvious their own way sucks and always has sucked. So what was the point? Just to say you had a choice? Great. I'm guy number one for that. Look what the fuck I did with it. That's the difference. You got to take this demiurge, this Promethean, egotistical, prideful demiurge, and sort of reorganize it and reorient it toward like knowledge of self and self-development. They just want to fuck everything up and then at the end go, okay, now I'll concede that I got to fuck everything else up and do it just because it's my choice, right? That's their whole fetish. And it's like at some point you got to go, I get it. I'm big on personal choice and freedom to do what's necessary, proper, true, and correct. not just whatever the fuck we want so we can proclaim to the universe we're our own person. I'm not in this for a Faustian Promethean swing. That's the issue that we have with these folks. That's why I say they're nihilists. They have no other authority, not even truth that's above them or beyond them. Nothing they submit to. Right? They'll lie right in the face of truth and the force of truth and their own conscience just to say they had a choice. Right? I'm not down with that. You know, and that's why they never understand why I am the way I am, because I have the same egotistical, prideful swing in me that they do. I just use it for what I perceive to be God's will as much as possible. Because I know if I don't, it's going to be my and others' undoing anyway. These are folks who recognize that and still won't fucking submit and heal to this program and this process. And they wonder why they have so much burden. They don't understand the release of like burden and tension and resistance when you just accept that there's something here meant for you and you just move into it as much as possible.
No, I agree with you on that. Yes, most definitely.
That's where you exercise that's where you exercise your personal choice. That's where it's valued and valuable. It's not valued and valuable if you use your personal choice to do stupid, fucked up shit that doesn't work all your life. That just makes you an asshole. Go ahead, sir. Take over. I'm doing a lot of talking here. We're already technically at the 3rd hour mark anyway.
You weren't talking to me.
Well, either of you.
Justin, you got something to say, buddy?
No, I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly. I agree 100%. You know, I'm just thinking about my mom, dad. My dad is never going to come around. My mom, though, is like right there on the verge. I see her, you know, she tips and tips and tips and tips. And I really thought her last little close call with the hospital and all that was going to be her final breaking point to where she would go full circle. But I ended up having to call her out on it. It's like, that's not what you were saying when you're on the hospital bed, you know? Let's live that life, you know? Kind of try to remind her about it, but she just keeps on tipping back the other way. So
this is your mom? I'm sorry, did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that she'll get it figured out before she gets too old to enjoy it, but we'll see. We'll see.
So I got the Freak here, says solid broadcast today, 6/5/24. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Freak. Devin C says, seems he fixed the Cash App situation. Thank you, Mr. Devin C. Obviously, I'm busting your balls a little bit. I don't take any of this shit personal. I couldn't and continue to do what I do without going completely insane. Maybe I'm there and don't know it, in which case, is it really insane? Maybe. Maybe that's what makes you insane. John, your thoughts?
My thoughts are that we've been raised on complete lies. I mean, the entire population of the world pretty much believes a lie and is living according to those lies. I mean, everything. I'm not just talking about legal, lawful stuff. I'm talking about everything. Pretty much.
Everything. Absolutely everything, John. I agree with you 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's all a lie.
That's what this process of truthing is really all about, is revealing that.
They separated us from reality. They created a manufactured reality that they want us to exist with.
Well, that's the original AI overlay that I like to say. There was natural intelligence and there was awareness and discernment, and they literally used culture, society, symbols, colors, words and terms, and performances to create an artificial intelligent overlay mapping of reality and convinced everyone the hallucination was real. It's amazing.
It actually really is amazing.
In scripture is the beast system. It's got everybody deceived. You know,
it's got to be more than just putting us in school at 4 years old and convincing us of these things. There's got to be something else that are keeping these people in that state. I just can't figure it out.
It's the spiritual element that we really can't understand beyond archetypal stories, right? It's some kind of an energetic force. It's some kind of a polarity, right? Just like the grounding of the battery and the negative and positive terminals. There's at least a dual aspect to this creation and a dual force that makes it all work. And folks are constantly moving, it would seem, from one side to the other. It doesn't seem you can move from one side back to the other, interestingly enough. So I don't know how that works, but again, the Matrix will give you the allegory. Once I give you the truth, there's no going back. And I've seen that in my life, right? Once you have awareness and you quote unquote wake up and you become aware of true enough, and the lies that you've believed in is there really a way back? So you have to argue on some level logically that whatever this process is a one-way process, right? The time, energy, attention, awareness flows one way toward the true power and the true beingness. It can't go back, because whatever that is a lesser self, a lesser light, right?
Yeah.
That's everybody's experience.
You know, I still remember as a kid those cartoons about Chicken Little and the sky falling. And I says, I don't know why that stuck with me so heavy back then. But I remember saying to myself, I said, well, that's never going to be me. I know what the truth is. And now today I'm Chicken Little. I mean, I'm telling everybody the sky is falling and nobody's listening. And I can't fucking believe I'm here.
Right. That's everybody's same experience, because again, the wise man knows what they know and knows what they know not. So how I kind of interpret that is, at some point you're wise even though you don't know it, because you look around and you see something different than what everyone else is seeing and doing. You go, why would I vote for president when every time we vote, no matter what happens, it gets worse? And both sides of everyone around you has a reasoning for why they're going to continue to do it. So again, it's like, I can just look and see and then accept what's shown and not project or reject with the information. Most people are not seemingly capable of doing that. That's their problem.
Don't you think, though, with technology and how it's advanced, I mean, I do believe technology has helped people see clearer now. For those who have ears to hear and eyes to see,
works both ways, actually.
It works both ways, but I think eventually it should catch up to where more people will wake up and say, you know what, nothing does change. I mean, you vote and nothing gets done. Nothing changes. Nothing ever changes. It's the same damn song over and over and over again. And maybe with technologies, it'll help actually make a dent and change that.
Yeah, I think technology potentially has a way of condensing history into experience that can be viewed rather quickly to kind of expedite the process of becoming conscious and aware. So the young person nowadays, over the course of a weekend, can pretty much look at various clips and see 100 years of experience in 10 minutes.
That's true.
And almost immediately becomes aware, holy shit, we're doing the same thing over and over again. And it always leads to these places if you make these choices, right? So I think that's what technology does, is an ability to condense and or process information and experience at a rate that allows for a lot quicker of an update in consciousness and awareness, potentially. Right. But again, it's about the wielder of the tool, right? It's about the user. And I think that most folks in life, the way they get them, is just by hacking into who and what we are. We're creatures where we like the path of least resistance and we like pleasure. Who doesn't or what doesn't like pleasure? Right. So, the more that they offer us entertainment and pleasure, and various sort of schemes for empowerment and enrichment, the less folks use the technology to gain an understanding of self or of history. But yeah, I mean, it's, when you look at how the universe works, somehow, some way, it's going to give everybody what they need or an opportunity to get that.
Well, I mean, and right now it's kind of like we're in a race right now. I mean, if you think about it, you take a step back, it's almost a race. You see how advanced they are coming with technology and how easily they can control the masses if they really wanted to. I mean, it's already there. I mean, all you did turn the switch on and they can control us all. But I still think that we're at that point where we can change that route and make it to where it actually works as a benefit for us, not as something that can be used against us, because we're not exactly China yet, but we're going to get to it, Yeah,
that's what New World Order is. It's basically just the whole world being controlled by this idea of technology, policy, and code. It's the merger of technology and corporations to run the world as a business.
And consider the fact that prior to the advent of radio, everybody lived in their homes or on their farms or whatever, and everybody's discussing something different. They bring the radio into the home, and all of a sudden people are all discussing the same things. TV, now we're visually seeing and discussing the same thing. That's why I think technology, I think that form of technology should be gone, in my opinion. I mean,
right. And I mean, this is kind of the addictive nature of technology, whether it's set up to be that way or it's spiritually part of a revelation that we are in addiction. And there's two different types of addiction in this life. There's toward the word addiction, where we live a life as much as possible going toward the word of truth and embodying that, versus the addiction that many of us have known most of our life, which is bondage, codependency, vice, disempowerment, right? So we can use technology like I like to do here. And this is why I try to keep it to, among other reasons, not only for my own beingness, but for other people out there. We don't need more than 3 hours of Pauly Boy or anybody. Because as Jeep Girl's saying down there, if you didn't have all this technology and stimuli, you'd have to exercise. You'd have to farm. You'd have to do more with whatever your time, energy, attention is. So the more we put our time, energy, attention on these devices and technologies and stimuli, and less on doing and being and creating the archetypal human, it fucks us on the back end, right? It fucks us up front and on the back end. So yeah, we need to, like, I believe, I'm not going to say what we need to do. Oftentimes I'm sure I do, and don't correct myself. What I need to do, which I then presume is what everyone else needs to do, which may be a false presumption, is to care for myself more, free myself from these toxified systems and interactions and relationships. If I didn't say that, care for myself in all ways more, right? As far as my body, exercise more, feed myself with what I grow, establish clean water and air, the basics. So the more that we get back to self and the basics and do what we need to do, the more it makes it easier for us to do what we want to do in life. When we focus on what we want to do in life, the needs go unmet, right? We're doing cart before the horse again. Yeah. So, we want to have friends. We want to have fun. We want to do this. We want to do that. What the fuck do we need to do as individuals in a collective right now more than ever? That's what the fuck we need to be focusing on.
And it can
go ahead, Justin.
Well, and it can be proven right now. I mean, it can be fact checked real quick. I mean, they're buying up the land and they're trying to put us all in 15-minute cities real quick, while we're not only we're doing more than 3 hours. Most people are doing way more than 3 hours of screen time. You know what I mean? And they really should. You're right, Paul. 3 hours, put it down and actually get busy taking care of yourself and doing better for you. Because,
yeah, bro,
like
that's why when I got arrested these last 3 days, I look at it as a blessing and a benefit, because I just did 500 days straight of broadcasting. I almost need 3 days in a fucking box to get back to me and the spirit and faith and trust, and not be looking for dopamine hits like the Castro, running to the phone to try to talk to an audience that can't do time with me. They're doing time in their own body, in their own simulation, in their own life, with what they're creating. That's why we got to practice detachment at times, man. I'm almost highly aware of the fact that this broadcasting thing that has made me in certain ways can break me in certain ways. It's about what I let it be, like most things. And if I don't watch myself, I get caught up.
The major difference here between this type of broadcast and mainstream broadcast is that I can question you after you talk for 25 minutes. Mainstream media, you're just being spoken to. You can't question, just like your council meetings. You can't ask questions. I mean, what's up with that? They don't have to answer any questions.
Well, that's why a lot of folks, there's two reasons that I deduced why most people like the Castro and High Impact and others don't do open questionnaire with anyone. One reason, because they don't want to admit and be honest that the majority of the public is retarded and going to waste their time and act like a fool. And the other side of it is they don't want real people in and amongst the public, regular people who see the truth with discernment, to question them on what they're doing and hold them accountable. Most people don't like that.
They don't
right? Whether I like it or not, I go, this is what I'm doing, because what other way would I do it? You think I'm going to sit up on somewhere and be insulated like Mark Passio and offer $3,000 courses and not have any FaceTime or interaction with motherfuckers? Are you kidding me? It's just, I don't roll like that, bro. I'm one of those. I'm the guy in the rap game who you're going to catch me on the corner. You're going to catch me walking into the store. I'm not insulating myself from the people. I am a people. So then, now with that said, doesn't mean that the majority of people are my people either. Just because I'm a people person and I'm of the people doesn't mean I resonate with or respect the majority of people. I love all people. I respect few people. And there's a reason for that. I contend few people in this life are respectable completely, or even on a certain level. If they don't respect themselves in the truth and have no static principles or value systems, what do I look like giving them my respect? I wouldn't respect me if I was you. Why am I going to respect you in another form? I'm just really real with myself and others about how I treat myself, and I treat others the same way. So don't expect to get my respect if you're not going to be respect able, and we know what the fuck that means, not being a bitch-ass slave. And if you think that I'm going to respect you any more than I would myself if I wasn't doing and being a certain thing, I think that's foolish. Why would you even want that in life? Respect don't mean anything at that point. If everybody got it for just being whoever the fuck they were, does it have any meaning anymore if it's not rare? There's only value to it if it's rare and it's based on certain conditions. The same way it is in the neighborhood. Certain folks get respect for certain reasons. You can argue good, bad, or indifferent. Not everybody's going to get it. That's what makes this simulation experience what it is. Because you got to do and be to get. If we just gave it out to everyone, it wouldn't mean nothing no more. Just like the trophies. Used to have to do and be to get a fucking trophy. Now everybody on the team gets a pizza party, whether you lose or win. Everybody gets a trophy. Well, what the fuck's the point then? Doesn't have any meaning anymore. Got to be good or great, right? That was the whole point. You got to be good and great in order. You got to do and be good and great to get and have. Now it's like, well, everyone's going to get and have, and everyone's going to be forced equality. I say that's the worst thing that we can do to this experience. Takes away all the incentive, right? It takes away all the sense of value and worth.
Well, you're seeing it play out right now.
Yeah.
You're basically seeing that play out right now because that started, 20 years ago? Where they started just, handing trophies out to everybody. You're starting to actually see that come to roost right now.
All these policy enforcement officers and these people were the dweebs who had little to no power and value in these situations. And they were taught through the system that everybody was unique and special and had a voice and everyone gets a trophy. You don't. There's winners in life and there's losers. And it's not about the money either. Like Donnie Trump and the rest of them want to try to gaslight you. I don't do that. You could have not a dollar in your fucking pocket and still be rich in spirit and be on a movement and on the way to get into something, whether it's money related or not. There's people with a ton of money who are fucking losers because they're losing everything that they got, giving it away because they're a punk ass coward and they think their money and their things are more valuable than their word and their honor. I don't live that way. So you could have a ton of money and a ton of things and still be a fucking loser failure. You could have little to nothing to your name and still be a fucking winner or on the way to it. And to teach children in life, there's no such thing as winners and losers, I think is gullible, naive, and short-sighted. There are. I'm a fucking winner in life at this point. I do what's true and what's right, and I'm in this for the long game marathon, right? I'm not sacrificing what's true and correct for the long game marathon. I'm in it. I'm all in. I'm a fucking winner, regardless of what the fuck I have or own or not. And I've met a lot of people in my life, regardless of what they have or think they have, they're fucking loser failures. It's just waiting for time to catch up. Soon as this fascism really kicks into play, you're going to see how much of a cowardly loser fucking failure you are when they take all your shit or you got to give it up. Yeah. Right? That's the thing. I could give up all what the fuck I have in and of this world, and who and what I am is going to outlast that. So I can't be a loser failure at this point because who and what I am is beyond what the fuck can be taken here. That's defined internally and by what I choose. Right?
That's the truth.
If all of what you value can be taken in this world by another man, you're a loser fucking failure. If no matter how many of them you get together, they can't take who and what you are and what you've chosen, then you can never be a loser failure.
Well, the only thing you can take with you is your word and your honor. That's the only thing you can take with you to the grave. So you might want to have time to find value in that.
Well, just like my father said, I'll have to reevaluate taking the jab or not if they say they're going to take my money. I say, there you go again. I had to tell him right then and there. Were we 2 weeks into 4 years ago, whatever it was? We were 2 weeks into the nonsense. Yeah, I felt fear, especially in the beginning. I said, I ain't going to comply, though, because I can tell that we're all fearful and they're trying to make us make decisions off of fear. And I know the quote unquote enemies, tests, and challenges in games. I know how it works. I know it's not the enemy either. It's the greatest teacher, tester, and challenger. It just comes across as an enemy, right? So he said to me, they were all full of fear in the beginning. I said, you ain't going to take nothing. If they ever try to say you got to take something or do whatever, you ain't going to. And he said, no, I'm not taking none of that. But I don't even know how early on into these conversations that I guess because we all knew where it was going to go.
Right.
We knew they were going to come on the back end with some kind of treatment or something, because a lot of us have studied history and then we know they've done it before. So he goes, well, if they threaten to take my money and what I have, then I'll have to reconsider taking whatever they offer. So you already put on record right there in front of God that you don't believe in the universe that you don't believe in is beyond your own fucking like independent beingness. You just put on record right there that you think that your money and things and them taking or not is more valuable than your life and purpose and meaning here. And you don't see why you're a fucking slave and you don't see why you're disrespected by someone like me when I've had to give up everything in and of the world over and over again to get back or to not give away who and what I am and what's true and correct. And you're going to sit there and tell me you'll sacrifice your life and our lineage and your future and your purpose and meaning here and your discipline and your values and principles because they're going to threaten to take your shit? You've already told God now and the devil that you value your things more than you value yourself and your beingness and what's true and correct. Why should it not give you judgment now, you dumb slave? You just fucking did blasphemy and rebuked everything that's true and correct and actually valuable here for paper and representations of value, which are only as good as the being who it's an extension of. If not, it's neutral energy. It's neutral representations and symbols. What the fuck is wrong with you? I have to daddy my own daddy and teach him how to not go along to get along and give up his true value and power for false neutral symbols of power that are only as good as the beingness behind it.
Is he ignoring everything that's come out to even to prove that was a wrong decision?
He even knows. He was arguing with them about the mask and he didn't take the treatment. The woman he's with did. He drove her down to get the treatment. Another way he blasphemed and mocked and doesn't respect the creation and thinks that the beauty of this land is that everyone can do whatever they want. If that is the beauty of this land, that's also the nightmare that you folks have free choice without discernment. You're basically the living dead. Your best efforts to help yourselves and each other only lead to ruination and damnation. Yeah. It's incredible how Luciferian these people are. Like they don't even get it. They're like of their daddy. They're totally Luciferianed out. I'm going to take the woman I'm with down to get a treatment that I wouldn't get myself instead of telling the bitch to get lost. That's what you tell a goofy bitch who's taking dick or anything else outside the relationship. Go there and don't come back. You don't have the fucking heart and the balls to do what's true and what's right anywhere in life. And that's why that bitch respects me to this day more than their own man that she's fucking. Because she knows archetypally, intuitively that I was sitting there telling her she's a goofy bitch and you were too. And she probably wishes you were more like me, telling her in her face every day she was a goofy bitch. And maybe she wouldn't have taken that shit into her that got lumps all over at some point. Dummy. That's what true daddy is. That's what true care, fatherly care is. Not this romantic, simping, tricking, half-ass, lukewarm bullshit.
Exactly.
I'm telling you your face. You're a goofy, broken bitch. If you go down there and you live on fear and not on faith and you take this shit inside of you, don't fucking come back into this house. A house divided cannot stand. You motherfuckers don't know how to even be men of your own houses. And these are the same goofy bitches when you die, you're going to have me arguing over what the fuck is supposed to be mine in the will that she ain't going to give up because she can't think and live and feel and be for herself. And you ain't trying to train her or teach her how to because you ain't shit as a man. Let's be real about it. It's what it always comes back to. It's not about personal resentment for my father. Yous are all the same. There's no difference between my father and the majority's inauthentic corporate beta males. They got nothing to do and be and show and create with a woman.
No, you're exactly right.
They desperately need them. And they got nothing. I got to thank Scott. As always, inspirational, hilarious. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Mr. Scott B. Yeah, man, it's beyond an embarrassment. These women are like indirectly crying out for a savior. And you can't be that, nor can you lead them back to that and make them realize it's in them. You can't do any of it because you haven't had the experience. So it's one big playing house waste of fucking time, energy, attention, and resources. And by the end of this, you guys are under complete judgment and still don't get it. Still don't get how the fuck this thing works, no matter how much I run my fucking mouth and predict your future, and you walk right into it over and over again. Now my father's got prostate cancer. They all have cancer. Everyone's getting cancer now. 10 years ago, I said, do you want to get out of these suburbs and cities? Do you want to go get land together? No. The punk-ass cowards sat in apartments, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars between all of them, sitting in apartments, renting, or with condos they supposedly own, in rat traps with slaves overpriced all around them. Can't leave it. Can't leave all the places that they lose their power and knowledge of self and sense of self and go down with the ship, right? There was too much to give up and walk away from, right? So they're eating from the inside out. It's amazing. You know, I have to tell these people twice my age to sell all this shit, to become a family again, get back on the land, prepare for what's coming, and detoxify on every level. No, they're not going to do it. They're going to continue divided, fighting and arguing, bullshitting themselves and everyone else, voting for masters, paying the tax, taking in the toxic consumption, right? And blaming other people when they can't fix the problems they've created, that they won't do anything to change. Paulie's paranoid. He's negative. He's resentful. He's a party pooper. Okay.
I think that story is more relatable to more people today with their families.
There's got to
have at least one family member.
I'd be under a bridge right now on fentanyl, right? If I didn't decide to get off of it and do whatever I'm doing for me for once in my life, just started doing whatever the fuck I needed to for me and the truth. Yeah, I'd be under a bridge on fentanyl and everyone would be going about their corporate activities. You're absolutely right, sir. If it wasn't for the last 4 years, no one would even be listening to me for 3 seconds, let alone contemplating what to do different next. That's why I say they're our greatest teachers and testers. The devil does good sometimes. I was ranting for decades. No one gave a fuck. They told me, shut up and go back on drugs. Literally, that's what they told me since I was 10, 12 years old. Shut up and go on drugs. Here, we're going to give them to you too. Stop harassing us. Stop questioning us. Stop bringing up your bizarre theories. Fast forward, maybe we should listen to our young ones sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should question things. Maybe we should stop rebuking and blaspheming God and God's creation in the form of our young ones and trying to twist them up to be just like us in our confusion and chaos.
No, I agree with you. My family told me, if you don't like it here, then leave. I'm like, that's not the point I'm trying to make.
Well, that's a loving family of bubble boomers, right? That's
exactly. Exactly.
Right? They won't tell the goofy bitch with them to leave when they want to bring shaitan into their veins and into the home on every level. No, they love that. They open their arms to it. What? You want God and truth and faith and justice? You can leave then if you're not into our Babylonian Luciferian activities. Yeah, we know. That's the problem. You've turned out your own children because you couldn't turn out your own children. You get what I'm saying, pimping and hoeing?
Yep.
You couldn't turn out your own children and make them hoes like you to suck dick for the devil, so you tried to turn us out into the street. Fascinating what the Luciferians do in their mockery, ritualistic, trauma-based mind control culting activities that they call culture. Fascinating what their problem-solving level of emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, their problem-solving skills in the cult. It's something to behold.
I agree.
Well, that's why Shaitan, the god of this world, eats its own children. It's not an accident. Look at them. Look at the majority of the inauthentic corporate males who bear children in this realm, right? Especially from a certain time. The more you get into certain time in history, right? They're literally the parents who are eating their own children, turning them into the fires of Molech. It doesn't get any more Saturnalian, just based on archetypal myth, right? The God who eats his own children. That's all of them.
No, you're right. I didn't think of it that way.
Oh, I know I'm right.
Very right.
That's the thing. For the longest time, I was right, and they had me convinced I was crazy. That's over. Now I know I'm right, and I'm speaking with authority of truth that has been proven in concept through our collective experience. It's no longer Paulie Boy's experience. It's our experience.
Oh.
Great time to be alive.
No, I agree. And I think every family has a Paulie Boy. There's at least one in every family. There has to be. God, exactly.
That's the game. It finally clicks with all these slaves out there that they are me and I am them. Right? Like, that's what we're all doing here. I know they don't want it to be true. It scares them. for the same reasons I elucidated earlier, might mean you're cast out. You don't get as many opportunities for dating or like corporate activity, but you get something else that happens to open up and come into your life. Right. So like maybe, just maybe, folks here who think I'm insulting them by calling them slaves forget that I had to recognize I was a slave and bondage here on some level, and still am, in the sense of incarnation wise, if nothing else. I'm a spirit bonded to a physical incarnation. I just choose to do something as positive, quote unquote, or productive with that. It doesn't change that it's a bondage endeavor. If you've left your body and come back to your body, being out of the body is superior to having the body. Just going to say it like that. It's just a better experience. Now, I'm not saying I want to die. I'm just saying once you're aware of that, you realize kind of the difference, you know, and then you kind of use the rest of your life to use the body as much as possible to do and create something here of meaning and purpose.
You know why a baby,
looking as much to hang on to it.
You know why a baby comes screaming out of the womb?
Well,
Because they
mean,
realize the mistake they made by choosing to come here, and then the memory wipe takes place.
Yeah, I mean, well, when your first memory of coming into this creation is a bunch of people who look like aliens with equipment all over them and lights, and they're poking you and prodding you and smacking you on your backside to show you what you're going to get here.
Welcome
You know,
to
they
the
go, oh,
world.
we got to beat the baby on its backside because something about like being born, and we don't know why. And I go, I know why, because you want it to be clear the first interaction here with these first responders and these authorities is trauma. That's the reality, and it's good because it like somehow ingrained in me and in everyone else, and then it's about the response to that. Like some of us go the other way. We go, oh, we get it. Coming into here, it's day one, suffering, pain, trauma, authoritarianism, lack of ability to completely trust. Like you guys are here to help, get it, but are you really helping? We don't know. Maybe, maybe not, right? So, you know, they do the beating on you so that you know right away, you know, like this is what you're going to get here, Junior. And by the way, this is for your safety. We're getting your lungs working. We're just going to beat the fluid out of you, get the lungs going.
Yeah, well, you go from breathing a fluid to breathing oxygen, right? I don't think so.
Your thoughts, Christos, in general?
he never wants to be.
Yeah, that's when we come with the vaccines, by the way. We come right around the corner after we beat the fluid out of your lungs and get you breathing good. We take you right around the corner to get those safety procedures, you know?
Yeah, you know what was being said earlier by Justin. I don't remember exactly what y'all were saying, but it just brought to my attention how, again, the paradoxical nature of this realm is that the most powerful things and aspects that we can obtain and have are metaphysical in nature more often than not. Although this, of course, is a spiritual realm, but to the layman, you know, it's a material, physical world. You know. At first perception. So of course, a world that seems to be so material and dense, actually your main weapons or tools to be used in here are going to be non-physical, non-tangible, hence, you know, character, principles, you know, and these things that you name off, these foundations of how to live, you know, so that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, not that it had, like, this is the way that it is. I mean, I guess I prefer the story be something else that could be more marketable and relatable to sell more of the products I don't offer. I'm doing a bit there. But the reality is I was smoking PCP and I became aware of an aspect of self that was essentially what felt like, again, this is feeling based. This is intuitive. It essentially feels like what they would call the sword of Excalibur. It's the only way I could put it, right? That using this chemical and certain chemicals made me aware of an aspect of myself that at the time I believe was dormant, broken, infractuated, however, just lacking. This thing made me become aware of it. And it's almost as if it was a sixth sense, intuitional sort of aspect of self that it was like, you know, again, I think that a lot of these chemicals and these altered states of beingness can be beneficial because they make you aware of different aspects of yourself that you could go back to your regular life and access, if that makes sense. So in my life today, I kind of use that state of consciousness that I've just come to now call faith, right? Trust and faith, which at that time I didn't know anything about in my life, you know, and it was only through using these chemicals that different aspects of self were kind of awakened. And then I was kind of introduced to the metaphysical aspects of creation, to where, yeah, you can get results here. You don't have to do black magic or sorcery or anything else. That the way that you think and feel and live somehow, some way produces an outcome for you, right? And I think to most folks who are raised in the culture that we are, that just seems like something that's a pipe dream, right? Like they say, a pipe dream. It's when you do the drugs, it's real, but when you come down, it's not real. It's back to the factory. It's back to reality and voting and all the rest of it. And it turns out that the thoughts that we choose, the feelings we choose, the experiences we choose make up our neurochemistry, which somehow, some way creates our reality.
So, Paul, can I ask you a question? Do you think all that information, whether you're doing the drug or not, is stored within the cholesterol of your brain, or you just think it opens up different connections to the ether and the information is out there? Because I just, it's difficult for me to grasp that, this blob of cholesterol we have in our brain, I think it's like 60%, that it stores all that information. And then it can just produce all that information. I think that of some sort.
I haven't had anyone else's experience, but the way that I kind of view it is that I was lacking in a lot of the normal things that the normal brain produces. So having an extreme input of those same chemicals awakened me to a reality that I think is always kind of on the periphery for the normal person's brain when it's functioning properly. Like I'm not saying the normal person who comes from a normal household who's introduced to the proper teachings and faith and trust needs those chemicals. Those chemicals are generated to some level and some degree by your supernatural beingness, right? So it's almost like because I was lacking that, because I was broken, I had to have those experiences in an extreme way, artificially, to bring me back to a middle ground, which is basically just normal human neurochemistry, right? So again, I just believe in plasticity, neuroplasticity, in the sense of a motherfucker could be anxious and depressed and all these other issues. The more they actually choose different thoughts, feelings, and actions and work at it, the more their brain is going to start to generate a different chemistry inside themselves that's going to lead to a different lifestyle and life results outside. Right?
I agree.
I agree with you 100%.
I actually really attest to that being true.
I actually saw something the other day where they said that they have, kind of bouncing off of this a little bit, but talking about DNA and how they have it labeled as junk DNA, and they're coming to find out that it's not junk. And it started making me think about how much of our body and our mind that we don't even know how to use, actually. You know what I mean? And having faith and being able to, be stronger minded, willfully, and everything else. What we could probably do collectively as a group if we all thought in a positive way, we all walked with the correct faith.
I would love to do that experiment for sure.
I mean, I think it'd be amazing to see what would actually happen if we all, put down all the anger and all the corporate lifestyle that we live, and we all actually walked in a clean faith and something that was actually with good direction.
Hey, dude, you're giving me goosebumps here. Stop talking like that.
Yeah, that's what these experiences, I believe, from the beginning of time are supposed to be about, right? Like the supernatural creation puts these experiences for us to have here through these chemicals to change our consciousness in order to come back to base consciousness with a different perspective, right? So like, the more that someone has to have faith and trust through any kind of process, the more they become a faithful being. It's like a muscle you work. So if you give somebody hallucinogens, they have nothing else but faith at that point. They have to have faith that they're going to come out on the other side and be okay. If not, they're going to take themselves on a bad trip, such as life. If you don't have faith when they put you in that cell, you're going to claw for the walls and go crazy and act like an animal in there, and you're going to have a bad trip, right? So a lot of these things seem to be like muscles. You just got to practice them and work them. And a lot of these experiences in life can be used as students of life as tools for that, rather than as to be seen as resistance forces or something to avoid. No, you move into it and you use it as a tool for self-development. That's what the jail and the courts and the box in life is supposed to be for you to form your character like the block of wood.
Yeah. So, and what y'all are saying, it communicates to me that DNA, faith, and the supernatural, as you would call it, these things are a knowingness, these epiphanies, realizations, or moments of enlightenment, per se, whatever we want to call them, moments of clarity. It's a knowingness. In that knowingness, it precedes belief and thought, and at the same time goes beyond. Not to do too visually, but that's the whole alpha and omega aspect. So the knowingness is the whole thing itself, the whole cycle, rather than these thoughts and belief systems, which ultimately partition us off in this life experience from that thing that we would call faith, or that knowingness that we have within our DNA of, what history has been. So just wanted to add that.
All right, we got to wrap up here at some point. I'm 41 minutes over the official ending. There's always more to do, right? Nothing's left undone, but there's always more to do. Fauci, breaking slave news, Donnie, whole thing. I guess we'll get to it tomorrow.
Paul, did you see the thing where that guy, I can't remember what town he was in, but he was a well-to-do guy. He ran the local airport, and I think he had a license to, I don't know, sell weapons, and they ended up shooting this guy in his house. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I mean, the guy was an upstanding, probably, the most upstanding man in his community. He ran the local airport. He had this license to sell weapons, and they could have picked him up for questioning anywhere at any time, but they went to his house at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of guys dressed in those black uniforms, and they shot him in the head. I mean, it had to be a hit for sure, in my opinion, but I mean, if you get a chance, check out that story. It's fucking...
All right, we'll try to get a link to it and bring it up tomorrow. I'll look at it.
All right, I'll try. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got a guy with 3 million followers says that DHS raided him and didn't charge him with anything and took all his shit. He goes, so this is where we're at. You guys are going to show up, kick in doors, take shit, not even charge the guy with anything?
Yeah, it was
we're
the
just
ATM
going full on gangland style?
That's exactly where we're at, though.
All right. Hey, you like it, I love it. Don't be upset when shit starts going another way, though. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I'm going to boogie.
All right, we'll see you later, John. You folks might have to be accountable at some point. There might be consequences. Chiefly what I'm talking about is you guys might have to come to court and get sued and start giving up your houses and boats and shit like that. And we could start there. Then we'll see where it goes historically. I don't know why you folks would want to live like this and create this. I don't even know if you're aware that maybe you can't stop it. It's just become part of who and what you are. You're given over to it, and it's not going to stop till it gets really bad. That's what I suspect.
That's what I suspect.
Full on possession at this point. It's not going to come to a halt, or at least a reconciliation point or reflection point, until it gets really bad for these folks. That's what they need. They're like addicts. They're not going to stop or even look at themselves till they hit a rock bottom. So I guess, blessings to all of you for that. You get what you need, like I did in my life. Hopefully, faithfully, you don't harm yourself or too many other people to the process of becoming and understanding, if that makes sense. Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All right, peace.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Justin.
Have a good night, man.
You as well. We out? Is everyone out? I'm in the back. All right, folks. Resoundingly successful broadcast. That's what I'm calling it at this point. I will be back tomorrow. As always, we're 7 days a week at this point, have been for over 500 days straight. That is a testament to my unwavering service and dedication to you, the people, and also unwavering adherence to a process and a program that I've set for myself, showing up for myself and others every day, non-negotiable. At some point, I may renegotiate on those terms in order to give myself a break, some time away. But right now, I kind of love what I do. They say I'm kind of good at it. Some folks sometimes. I'm able to generate some value in different ways. So I look at it as an honor and a blessing to be here to serve not only myself, but you folks by proxy. So I will look forward to the return tomorrow and hopefully, faithfully, many days after. So with that, I will leave you now. Mazel from out west. The folks from Hollywood, thank you for being here. If nothing else, because this entire human experience and creation at this point has come down to one big mockery, sorcery, humiliation ritual for our highest good, so we can become a better version of ourselves through the awareness of the negative polarity, if that makes sense. I'm out of here. Say goodnight to the bad guy, people. All I have is my balls and my word. I'm not going to break them for nobody. You can't do nothing to me that Castro hasn't already done.
Me, I always tell it, even when I lie. So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again.
The great reset's happening. So when you get all your pretty and nice shit taken away and your bullshit job that leads to nowhere, and you're forced back on the land and have to be self-sustainable and co-creative and work with what is, this talk about your feelings and your ego is going to go right out the window, because the God and the elements and nature are going to present what needs to happen next. 9 out of 10 times. That's the difference between me and you. I got it in me, not on me, just like you do. I'm trying to work it out, bring the subconscious to the conscious and figure out who and what I am. Am I good or evil? Am I real and true? Am I a narcissistic, egotistical deceiver? That's the difference. I'm actually authentically trying to work it out while you lie to everyone and project your negative aspects of self onto me, and I don't appreciate it. And the universe don't appreciate it either. And the students of life in this audience don't appreciate it either. This isn't about love of money. This isn't about chasing bags or anything else in and of the world. This is about the Philo-Sophie, right? The love of knowledge, the love of wisdom, the love of understanding of self and applying it to actualize and realize and get better results for yourself and everyone else. I thought that's what we were doing here. So let's get the game back in its proper perspective. The motherfucker doing this shit shouldn't have to talk about it because you folks want to lie on it. It's embarrassing to me. I didn't come on here with the intention or the understanding that this is supposed to be for business or a hobby. That's why I show up the way I do 500 days straight. That's why I have a care in my heart with passion. That's why I do what's true and what's right and see through you motherfuckers and get amazing results for me. We can't allow the generalized experience of life and everything it has to offer, good, bad, and indifferent, to hold us back or keep us paralyzed or keep us fearful or self-doubting or unloving and uncaring of ourselves.
God damn it, Paul.
How do I know? Because then look into me. That's all this is. I can see further than the rest. I can interpret beyond what's
He is
told and
constantly
shown,
in
and I can
his
amalgamate and
feelers. You don't
communicate
hear him?
the cause and effect and the root of the state of consciousness and awareness. That is a astounding testimony to the work that I've done on myself in this world and in this life, and the practices I've done with other people.
Being super
Question
aggressive.
and answer, the fellowship, the co-creational endeavors, and the conversation that leads to understanding. But again, we can't appeal to false emotions and false authority. That is the cornerstone of cognitive dissonance. You can't say that I'm respectable, righteous, honorable, presentable, and then I have balls, and then turn around and hate me or catch feelings over me, be in that and live in that when you don't like it, or when it doesn't turn out as favorably for you as you would have hoped or expected, right? That's the theme of a true common bond that goes long term versus the shallow, materialistic, worldly connections that come and go. Yeah, it is what it is. Some people are down forever. Some people are down for the ride until they got to get off, right? And some people ain't down at all. So through the life experiences, firsthand experiences, through the tests and challenges, you learn more and more who and what is meant for you, and who or what is probably not going to be able to sustain the ride. And that's okay.
God of all media.